Here we go.
Cut the fix up with some Xbox babies, put the switch up. See me gearing up for war, don't get it mixed up. I come in peace, kid. I'm bringing commentary and the new releases. I put them hours in to get prepared now. We play on expert level, don't be scared now. I'ma destroy you when I'm forza, I can tear it down. If you ain't tuned into the channel, keep your head down. Cut the fix up with some Xbox babies, put the switch up. See me gearing up for war, don't get it mixed up. I come in peace, kid. I'm bringing commentary and the new releases. I put them hours in to get prepared now. We play on expert level, don't be scared now. I'ma destroy you when I'm forza, I can tear it down. If you ain't tuned into the channel, keep your head down.
Hello and welcome to The Fix. Brought here by myself, Infinite Umbra, and my co-host. I was going to say co-star. You know what? Maybe we should start doing it. My co-star. My co-host, Daniel J. McGee.
Hey everybody. I actually kind of like co-star better. It
Sounds
feels more
kinda
fun.
Yeah, it feels kind of like elite, right? Like,
Yeah, a little bit.
yeah, that's my thinking. Well, guys, we're here tonight. I was this close to canceling. I'm not feeling that great today. I have a headache and what feels like a cold coming in, which is partially my fault. I had the fan on with the nice cool air in Chicago going with the rain coming down and such, and it kind of affected me from the other day until today. So, but I figured since I didn't get a chance to put out anything to cancel and let people know ahead of time, we would do something still today, but we would keep it really short. So we won't keep you guys too long tonight. Possibly an hour, not a little shorter than that. But we will discuss the current news that's going on as far as any gaming industry news, and I kind of vamp a little bit about what we've been up to and what we've been watching. Yeah. So Danny, what have you been up to lately, brother? We hadn't had a chance to speak with you last week, and so I know you couldn't make it, but what have you been up to in gaming
last
and
week
watching?
it was my turn to not feel particularly great. I had gotten back from work and I took a nap on the couch and woke up and my head felt like it was just going to explode, which I fully blame on Texas weather. Texas weather lately has been a real pain in the ass, where like it'll be 80 one day and 40 the next. And today I just got a thing on my phone that was like, severe thunderstorm warning, baseball size hail, and like there hasn't been any hail, but somewhere right now, like weather is just insane right now. So I'm blaming that. I'm blaming my headache on that very much. In terms of gaming, really haven't been doing a ton. I finished Lamplighters League, which I think is good, like definitively is good,
Right.
but it's one of those things where I think it has a ton of good ideas that just don't get executed super well. You know,
Okay.
like I think it does some really interesting things with the sort of strategy genre, and I love XCOM likes or anything like that.
Yeah, I was actually interested in getting into that. How long would you say the story itself was?
Not too long. I mean, you can take longer with it. It's one of those ones where like if you want to sit and grind for a while, you can definitely do that, especially on a lower difficulty. I think I ended up finishing it in like 14, 15 hours, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
So it's not too bad. And you know, it's a style of game that I love, and they do this like pulp like adventure style Indiana Jones kind of setting, you know.
Right.
And I love both of those things, but I feel like they just don't come together very well. And like graphically, the art style just like doesn't do it for me. It's just like it has so many good ideas and it just never comes together into something that's really truly amazing, you know.
Yeah.
So
interesting
It's a little
characters and
disappointing on that
such, and
level.
voice actor work or anything that's
Not
worthy?
really. I
No.
mean, there's some cool character designs, but actual characters, no. I think the villains are pretty good. It's got like your pretty standard, or like the villains that you would expect in that sort of pulp adventure. Is you've got like the guy who's clearly supposed to be a Nazi, and you've got like the eldritch horror guy, and you've got the third one's like a industrialist who's building weird robots, right? So like there's some really cool things going on character design wise, but in terms of writing, they never really do anything with it, which is unfortunate. Um, it's also like, because it's XCOM like, right? It's a strategy game, and I don't know if it has permadeath. I only lost one, and it was right at the end, and they stayed on my list, but it said that they were lost. So I don't know if they would have like popped up later. I genuinely don't know. But all of the characters are like named characters who have backstories and everything, instead of ones that you make. And I almost think that that's kind of a bad idea, because then you can only have like every mission you're only able to take 3, and it really limits like the amount of strategy that you can have, and a lot of like, oh well, I need to have this guy, and this guy, because their type matchups work well together. But then like narratively, it would make more sense for me to bring these 3 characters on this mission, but they're all, bruiser types, so I can't really do that, or I'm going to get bodied. It's just, there's a lot of things that just kind of conflict with each other. That it's a fun game, and for being on Game Pass, it's absolutely worth playing. But I think that a second version of it would almost certainly be where they figure out what to really do with it.
That's where they really nail it down a bit more, you think, huh?
Yeah.
I definitely want to try it. So you had Gray Monad in our chat. He asked, have you tried, or are you going to try rather, Classified France 44?
I actually don't know what that is.
I don't either.
Let me see. Let me look it up. France 44. Other than that, I've been watching a lot of Survivor lately. It's sort of my like comfort food show, and so I've been going back and rewatching a lot of it. I've watched like probably 10 seasons of it already this year. And there's a new season that just started. The 3rd episode just came out, and it seems like it's going to be a pretty good one. Maybe not as good as the previous season, but we're looking at like a pretty interesting cast here.
All right. Yeah, you've been watching a ton of the Survivor stuff. Huh?
Ton of Survivor. Yeah, it's just been that, and I got caught up on the Halo show. I actually just watched the most recent episode of it, like right before we sat down here.
Oh, nice. I haven't actually watched the latest episode. I think I'm an episode, if I'm not an episode back, I'm 2 episodes back. But from what I had been watching, it was actually decent. A much better improvement over season 1.
Yeah,
in my honest opinion.
I still don't think it's like amazing or anything, but
Mm-hmm.
I think it's really good. I think especially in terms of the action of it, I think it's a huge step up. I really am enjoying a lot of the character work. There's the new character Perez is really cool. I like her a lot.
Yeah.
They're setting up for some things in the finale that I don't really want to spoil, but that seem like they could be going some really cool places.
Yeah.
Especially a thing that happens with Halsey in this most recent episode points to a thing that I think we would all be really excited to see in a season 3.
Okay. Definitely gonna have to watch that tonight. Yeah, I'm gonna have to get caught up. But I've been hearing nothing but positives for the latest episodes that I hadn't seen. But from what I did watch, again, I liked it a lot. Like you said, though, it's not like the greatest or anything like that for sure.
Yeah.
But it definitely is a market improvement over what we got in season 1. We no Master Cheeks this season so far, which is an improvement. Though he has been out of the armor a few times.
Yeah. Well, but they made it more plot relevant this time, where it was like it was an issue that someone had taken away his armor instead of him just being not in his armor for fun, So I'm more willing to accept it here.
Yeah.
Just because like they made it actually a relevant plot point.
Much more acceptable in this situation. Yeah. I agree. So as far as myself, let me ask, have you been watching any WWE lately?
I have actually. I've been watching. That's another thing I've been watching a lot of is just wrestling in general.
Mm-hmm.
Both WWE and AEW are doing some really cool things right now.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
So,
yeah. Was it
so
something
with
happened?
AEW, I haven't had a chance to really watch that, but
Yeah.
with WWE, man, it's bringing back this feeling I haven't had. I feel like I'm watching Star Wars. This is a feeling I haven't felt in however many years, but that it's giving me that attitude kind of era feel with having The Rock, be the heel right now. I'm really loving it, I have to say. And I think the promos he's been putting in have been really, really great. I know I'm a bit biased because I love The Rock, but I think this is when he returns, typically it's like, okay, we'll give him a pass because it's The Rock, so sometimes his promos might not be as great, but it will get carried because of who he is, right? And like people like John Cena have called that out before in the past, but
there's definitely some of that, but he's very good on, like, there's no arguing that he's bad on the mic. I think that he's, the whole Bloodline storyline is probably the best story arc going in wrestling right now. Like,
I would agree.
The whole Cody thing, it's really, really good.
Yeah.
I hope they land the plane on it, because going into Mania, there's a couple things that have me a little worried, where it's like, I don't think that they're gonna let Cody win at Mania.
You don't
I think
think
that
so?
It's gonna be, no, I think they're gonna screw him. I think The Rock is gonna do something to cost him.
Oh.
Because I think they very heavily want for Roman to beat Hogan's record with the title, and for that to happen, he would have to hold it for not a lot longer than WrestleMania. I think it's like another month or two afterwards.
Really?
Yeah, and considering he's already held it for like 3 years, so it's getting to a point where it's like, if not Roman, and if not now, then when and who,
I wonder. That would be something. I wouldn't mind Hogan losing that, to be fair, but at the same time, despite how terrible Hogan may be in real life, he did pave the way for what superstar wrestlers are today, to 100%. Be fair.
Although he's also not. So Hogan's not like the person who's held it the longest. He's the third.
Oh, okay.
There's two above him. It's San Martino, who held it for like a million years back in the 70s or something, when like it almost doesn't even matter. And then weirdly, this is possibly the stupidest thing. Number 2 is Backlund.
Bob Backlund.
It's Bob Backlund.
Chicken wing inducing Bob Backlund. That's who you're saying.
That's the
Wow. I remember, like, before I really, really knew a lot of the wrestling business, and I would see Bob Backlund come out, older Bob Backlund, when I was watching. And I'm like, who is this old dude? Like, who is this doing a chicken wing on people and making them submit or whatever? Like, come in and just look so, like, goofy and, chicken wing. It's like, what? Get out of here. And then you go back and you realize, like, oh, this dude was a whole champion for the belt. Like, he was a heavyweight champion for a long time, right?
Oh yeah, he held it for ages, and it's funny because, like you say, by the time that I started watching wrestling, he was kind of a joke character. Like, they still played him up as being a good wrestler, because back when he started, he was a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
But it was very much that thing of like, who is this little nerd? What's he doing?
That's what he
can do this.
That's what I thought when I saw him. I'm like, who is this dude with the bow tie and all of that? Yeah.
San Martino held it for 2,803 days, whereas Hogan only held it for 1,474. So for Roman to become number 1, he would have to hold it for pretty much twice as long as he's held it already. I just don't see that happening.
Okay.
But I do think that he'll pass up Hogan. I think that that's where they're going.
I feel like I hear you on that, but I think at this point it's now like where they have to. It's almost where they have to. Yeah, like they have to do it now. Because the last time, people were like, yeah, this is going to happen. And like even you had pointed out when we talked about it before, that they pretty much set Cody up to fail where he had it. And it was like they, decided, or Vince came in and ruined that or whatever, something like that, I believe it was. So now Vince is out of the way. And it feels like, with Triple H at the helm, and no pun intended, Helmsley, but it feels like he would stay out of ruining that. And it's this whole story thing they keep talking about. I love, by the way, how The Rock was like, he's like, F his story, right? Like his story is nothing. He's like, what's the story? He asking people, What's the story? And then he mocked the fans. Cody's got to finish his story. Cody.
Yeah.
That shit had me laughing, man.
That's what I'm
But
saying is I
yeah,
think now that The Rock is back, because I don't know how much he's going to be around, because he is the head of the board and he's very involved in the company, and it seems like he's going to continue to wrestle a lot. But then we also know that like starting in like I think beginning of May or something, he's going to be gone for a bunch of months to shoot a movie. So it's like I don't know if they can really carry on like a full story arc with him. But now that he's back a lot more, I almost wonder if they'll like do something where Roman holds the title past Hogan's reign, and then The Rock takes it, and then Cody beats The Rock. You know, because I think that's almost a bigger finish of the story than him beating Roman. Although I mean, Roman's fantastic. He's a really good wrestler. I don't think there's no argument that like Roman has not done a good job as champion. He's really, really good.
Right. Now let me.
The Rock is The Rock. So
The Rock is The Rock. Yeah. But let me ask though, like, with that being the case, and Roman. Oh, well, hold on. Where was I going with this? I had a specific point. I almost forgot. Yeah, with The Rock, he feels like he'll leave eventually, so I'm not sure how long they'll do that. But this is the thing. The theory is the conspiracy theory, at least, and I want to get your thoughts on this. Is when The Rock, when he throws up the finger like Roman in the gang.
Oh, the
L.
Like the L.
Yeah, with the thumb. What's your thoughts? You think that's on purpose? Like that's purposeful, or because he did it twice? We'll say.
Yeah, I don't think the first time it was, but I think maybe it is now. I think it's one of those things where like the first time he just did it on accident, and then they saw that people were talking about it a lot, and they're like, "This is a good angle. We should stick with this."
Okay.
Because I do think The Rock is going to dismantle the Bloodline. I think that's where this is going. The Bloodline's been a really amazing story, but I think a lot of people, myself included, would also argue that it's probably been dragged out a little bit too long.
It's run its course.
Being that, it's been going on for like 3 years, almost 4 now, and it's been really good. But I don't know what else they do with it, you know. So I'm not saying the team completely falls apart, but I do think that there needs to be some big blow off, and then like they stop being center stage, because I think that Roman's been wanting to take a long vacation for a long time, and B, like the side effect of the Bloodline being really the only thing that they're doing has been that the majority of their card hasn't been doing like really anything for the last at least 2 years, right? It's like if you look at the WWE product right now, it's like the Bloodline storyline and people who are attached to that, and then on a very like a pretty big step down from that, you can look at Rhea Ripley and what she's doing. And then the third tier is like maybe the LWO, because they sell a bunch of merch, and then there's really nothing else going on that is doing like big numbers, which is a shame, because they have a really good roster, and a lot of the people who work there right now are just like not able to really do a whole lot, because it's like Roman and Cody have been built up to be such huge monsters that it's like it's gotten to a point where if anybody else has a title shot against Roman, there's no shot that they're ever going to win. Like, it's not believable at all.
Right.
You know? So they've kind of written themselves into a corner with that. And I think that they need to drop Roman at some point, just to have him not in the picture at all. Like, maybe like have him go on vacation for like 8-9 months and build up other people, and have him come back then.
Some people have raised the thought that Roman has been looking a little sickly, like he's still dealing with that. You don't think that's the case, do you?
It's not impossible. I mean, he what is it, leukemia? I think like he suffered from leukemia multiple times. It comes back every couple years. I hope to God that that's not happening. I haven't noticed it.
Yeah.
But it's not impossible. He's a human, and he's been kind of been run ragged.
Yeah. I hope that's not the case.
He doesn't work as much as the like general champions do. I think someone posted a metric like last week or something that during Hogan's reign, which is almost as long as Roman's is now, he defended the title like almost 200 times, and Roman's only defended it about 50 times.
Wait, so all those stories that Hogan told us, That's not going to work for him, brother. He actually did wrestle all those times.
He defended it a lot. There wasn't a lot of chances of him ever like losing it.
You're right.
But he defended it a lot. He was very much more of a working champion than Roman, and that's part of the storyline as well. Is like, he's been champion for so long, he's not even here. But you know,
he talked about that too. By the way, I have to say his mic skills have been drastically better. Like I watch him and I just smile because it's like, he's in his bag now. He got on there at one time to that point where people were asking him, like, why are you not wrestling as much? And he's like, what did he say? I think that's when he was talking about, would you rather have, what's his name, Money? What's that guy name that's supposed to wrestle with Cody? It's supposed to be his partner here, I guess, have his back. The other belt holder. He's the other belt holder, the major belt holder. Seth Rollins.
Yeah.
And he said, would you rather have Seth Rollins money or Tribal Chief money? He was like, I don't have to wrestle as much, basically, is what he had said. So they're aware of it, which is what I like. Yeah. I like that they actually pay attention to what the audience is talking about. So I think you're right on the whole, the AO thing with The Rock. I'm guessing they paid attention to it now, and maybe they're going to try to play it up. But if you had to give an odds chance, let's say 1 through 10, 10 being the highest, what's the odds of Rock betraying the bloodline at WrestleMania, in your opinion?
Ooh, at WrestleMania is tricky. Because will he betray them? Like 9 out of 10, 100%. Like I'm almost convinced.
Yeah.
At WrestleMania, 7, 8. Like I think it is pretty likely. I think that there's a very good chance that he betrays the bloodline in such a way that he becomes the champion and Cody can't finish the story. And I think that that's an interesting thing to do storyline wise. I think that it's kind of the best of both worlds, where then Cody can sort of go after the Rock. Well, no, but because if Cody's not winning the title at Mania, then Roman needs to continue holding it for a couple of months so that he can beat Hogan's record. Because that would be the only reason I would be okay with him not dropping it to Cody at Mania. I don't know. I think it's pretty likely though. I'm gonna say 7. I'm pretty high on that.
Okay. Yeah. I'll say this: with the promos The Rock has been doing, coming back with the Versace vests and shirts, the belts and the shoes, I have been, man, let me tell you, I have been full watching this. It's giving me nothing but Attitude Era vibes, man. So much so that I'm really considering ordering the pay-per-view. Like that's how much is caught me. Mania? Yep. Like this will be the first time in years, whereas I used to order them routinely back in the day. Like I would, all the No Way Outs and the WrestleManias and all those events, Survivor Series, I would buy all of them. I would have written them all out. We'd have parties and things like that, me and my ex at the time, and we would we would watch the hell out of those things and have friends over, etc. But now, for a long time I had fell off of wrestling. It just wasn't for me. But this now is really, like, I hate to say it like this, but it's captivating. But let me ask, since it's been said in the chat, what's been going on with AEW? Thank you for saying that, Ninja Squirrel. By the way, shout out to everybody, and thank you all for being here. We're not going to have a really long show tonight. I'm a bit under the weather. You could probably hear a bit of it, the congestion in my nose, but I'm not feeling the greatest. I have a headache right now too. But let me give everybody a shout out, since there's not too many of you here right now. First and foremost, shout out to our mods, Daniel J. I almost said your name. That's me. Shout out to you, Daniel.
What's up?
Shout out to Gray Monad and to Yodani Kuzada. Thank you both for being here, holding us down as you do. Eternal Shaddai. I told my brother Shaddai, every time I see his name, I start thinking of like black churches, and they're like Shaddai. They're like, I'm like, that Eternal Shaddai. Anyway, Eternal Shaddai. Punty, what's up, brother? PS5 blows. Yeah, welcome. Spider, welcome. Jax82, thank you for being here. Doovie, my brother, thank you for being here. And Ninja Squirrel, of course, as well. And anybody who might be lurking, thank you for kind of coming through and giving us a listen. It's a lot. The thing, I will say this before I ask you about AEW, is Jack said, by the way, AEW is horrible.
That's fine. It's definitely. I can definitely see people making the argument that WWE is better than AEW. I think both are doing really great things right now. I think saying it's horrible is a stretch. Like I think they're both doing really well. Okay. I'm happy with both products right now.
Okay, but so I will say, like, we have, as far as Thursday nights, it has been very competitive lately. I'm sure you all in the audience have noticed it too. It's a lot of people with a lot of podcasts on at the same time. So I say this to say, thank you all seriously for even giving us time, because it's so many people out there with like bigger guests coming through and things like that. Sometimes I would understand if your attention is divided and saying, hey, I got to go hear what they're talking about over there, you know? So thank you guys for being here and rocking with us, really. But as far as AEW, what has been going on with that, man?
AEW's been doing really, really well lately. They kind of got caught up in sort of confusing storylines for a little while, like probably the last, I don't know, 6 months or so. The story hasn't really been there. But even during that time period, I think what AEW has always had going for them is the work rate. I think bell to bell, there's no wrestling product better than AEW. I think that they just put on better matches. Now, WWE tops them in terms of production value by a ton. And I think that the Bloodline storyline, like I said, is the biggest thing going in wrestling right now.
Right.
But I think WWE, you've got like this peak of the Bloodline, and then everything else is a pretty big step down. Whereas AEW has a ton of things that are not as good as the Bloodline, but like significantly better than everything else that WWE has going. So it's honestly, it's user choice. Like I think that they're both doing amazing. I think I personally prefer AEW right now, just because
of the actual wrestling side of it.
I like the work rate. Yeah, right. I think that the matches are better, and they just signed. Well, okay, so because Jax also says Darby Allin dived through glass. That did happen. Sting had his retirement match.
I saw that.
At Revolution, and it's like an all-time best retirement matches. Like it's up there with I'm Sorry I Love You. It's up there with like Shawn Michaels Undertaker, which didn't end up actually being a retirement match, but whatever.
Neither was I'm Sorry I Love You, really, because
they both came back.
Right.
So I don't know. I don't see Sting coming back because he's like much older than they were at the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, Sting's match absolutely phenomenal. Darby just, oh my god, he threw himself off the top of a ladder in the ring. So he's up the height of the ring plus a ladder, did a flip, threw a sheet of glass that was suspended between 4 chairs, cut his whole back up.
Whoa.
It's just insane. I don't like particularly need for people to do spots like that where they're like really screwing themselves up, but I think on the occasion that it makes sense, in Sting's retirement match is one of the occasions where I feel like it does make sense. It's really cool, and he's actually going to be out for a while anyway, because he just had a match at Big Business, which was just like an episode of Dynamite, but like a special one.
But the Darby Allin guy, what's up with that? Like he's the modern day Spike Dudley, basically.
Dude's insane. 100%. Yeah. He's taking a break from wrestling right now. He's leaving. His last match was the one he just had against Jay White on yesterday.
Right.
And it was a really great match. They're both phenomenal wrestlers. But he's not taking a break to like go and hang out and like watch movies or whatever. No, dude's going to go climb Everest. Like dude's nuts. But then also
he hasn't had enough danger in his life, huh?
Yeah, apparently. So Revolution was a really great pay-per-view. I think probably the best one of the year so far. Mania, we'll see how that pans out. But as of right now, best pay-per-view of the year. And since then, they've been hiring some huge names. Like, they hired Ospreay before, Will Ospreay. He's probably the best wrestler right now, in my opinion, in terms of work rate. He's also really good on the mic. And then they hired the only other person that I would even put in category of like best work rate wrestler, like who's in the same category as Ospreay. Mm-hmm. They just hired him, not yesterday, but a week ago, in Kazuchika Okada. Mm-hmm. He's absolutely phenomenal. He's joined in as a heel, and he's really, I don't know how to express it other than just like, if you watch any Okada match, you'll immediately just like get it. You know what I mean?
Is he the one that I saw some blurb they were talking about? He's getting 14 million or something like that.
Yeah, I think that was going around. I don't think that's a real number.
Okay.
but yeah, he is making a ton of money.
Gotcha.
Because he's the biggest name
from.
in
Did he come from
right
like?
now,
Did he come from like
outside
All
of
Japan
Legends.
Pro or something like that or something?
He came from New Japan. Yeah,
New Japan.
He was their biggest name because AEW has this thing, and I think it's part of what keeps their wrestling so fresh, is that they don't only use their own wrestlers like WWE does for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
Although WWE is opening it up too, because they had a couple of people from TNA show up in at the Rumble, but AEW has this thing where they'll partner with like New Japan or CMLL or TNA or whoever and have people come in and do like basically guest matches, or they'll have pay-per-views where it's like AEW crossover with New Japan or AEW crossover with, and so you just get to see more wrestling, which is really cool.
Okay, cool.
But no, so they've signed Will Ospreay, Kazuchika Okada, and then they just signed Mercedes Moné, who is probably I don't know. It's a little bit more questionable in the women's department, but I think that she's definitely in the running for like best women's wrestler active today. So they've been making some really, really big moves over there. I actually think, again, it's exactly the same thing with the product in general. I think WWE has the biggest singular names in like The Rock, Roman, and Cody. But I think if you look at the strength of the rosters overall, I think AEW's roster in general is stronger.
It's more powerful, like as far as actual wrestlers, or you mean like
in
star
terms
power?
of just like, probably not in terms of star power, because WWE has that established brand thing where like people know those names a lot better.
Right. Okay.
But in terms of like raw performance in the ring, 100%.
What happened with Edge and Christian?
That storyline's still going. It's apparently going to blow up at there's a Toronto event where they're having a big match.
Oh, back home.
Yeah. So that's because that's where Edge is from.
Right.
So that storyline is still going. It got kind of put on hold because Edge had like a minor injury, so they had to put it off to the side for like a month. But yeah, they're still around. They're still doing great things. Christian Cage is hilarious still. He's really funny.
He's like, let's talk about your father.
Yeah. Oh man.
I still laugh at the one when he hugged Edge and he's like, "Oh, go fuck yourself."
Yeah.
I still laugh at that. Well,
really
that's
funny.
hilarious.
Wrestling is in my opinion, wrestling as a whole is in a better place than it's been in at least 15 years, maybe 20.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Like,
feeling though. Like with
really
the whole bloodline situation, that's what it's making me feel like. It's making me feel like that, and I know it's just on the WWE side, but I do want to start getting into watching AEW and really checking it out just to see the actual, workmanship, I guess, of wrestling going on over there. So, yeah. What's up, Red Wolf? Good effing evening to you as well. Welcome, Abdel. Who else may have joined? I thought I saw someone else. Well, thank you guys for coming by. But yeah, what's this about Sasha Banks?
Sasha Banks is the WWE name of Mercedes Moné, who just got signed onto AEW.
Okay.
She's really good. She's really, really good.
But Sasha Banks, wasn't she in WWE? I remember her name.
She was, yeah. Her and Naomi got let go, I think,
okay.
almost 2 years ago. And Mercedes went to New Japan and Naomi went to TNA.
Okay.
And they both built up big names for themselves because they got let go during the Vince administration, where Vince was just like not feeling it. He was just like not putting respect on them in a way that he should have.
Right.
And Naomi ended up going back, and now Mercedes has blown up into this huge international star.
Oh, that's where sorry to cut you off. That's where I remember her from. Ninja Squirrel,
Mandalorian?
The Mandalorian. That's why I knew her. I'm like, doesn't I remember her? That's exactly it. Yeah, that's exactly it.
So
by the way, shout out
AEW.
to Silent Cypher. What's up, brother?
Yeah. Well, so she signed with AEW because now that she is this big like international star, she wants to be able to continue wrestling other places, and AEW allows their wrestlers to go and still wrestle in Japan and in other promotions, whereas WWE really doesn't unless it's like a very, very special occasion.
Okay, I see.
Yeah, so I think that's part of why she was signed to AEW. I think somehow they also offered her more money, apparently, which I don't think makes sense, but also WWE has a bigger roster, and they're probably paying The Rock a lot of money, so maybe
Oh
they
yeah.
can't afford to give more money to other people.
Oh yeah.
Whereas Mercedes, like, it's one of those things where Mercedes is can 100%, she is the biggest name on the women's roster in AEW right now.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if she went to WWE, she'd be like one of the top 3 or 4.
I see. Yeah.
So, you know,
And plus the star power from like the Mandalorian, like we mentioned too. So
100%. And she still wants to do acting, so she's going to continue doing that, I assume.
that's good. That's good. She'll likely be in a movie, I'm imagining.
She could be. She's one of the only like named Mandalorians who aren't dead in that show.
Yeah.
So.
Right. Yeah. But I guess it's enough wrestling talk. Wrestling.
Yeah.
I forgot to mention as far as what I had been gaming on. Gaming wise, I had been playing with my buddy Kaz, Last Epoch off Steam. And thank you to the ROG Ally and Abdel. I'm sure you understand where I'm coming from with this, as Abdel has one himself. The ROG Ally, man, I know I'll get some hate from my brother, Mr. Joanna Dark, but I have been loving that ROG Ally, and it's unlocked more capabilities than I gave it credit for, because I bought this dock, so I started docking it to my LG, right, and I'll just play it off the TV, and with that, and if you get even a higher like 100 watt battery, you can kind of push it up even further as far as the wattage to allow you for more visuals and performance. So Last Epoch, typically they tell you to put it on low settings, et cetera, et cetera. That's when if you want to just play it without it being plugged in and killing the battery. The negative about the ROG Ally is that the battery life isn't that great. But with me, since I'm typically playing it either at work or at home, I can plug it up. It's no problem to me. So that doesn't matter to me, right? So the beautiful thing, I don't have to put it on low settings. I can put it at its highest settings, plug that joint up into this dock, and it plays roughly flawlessly through it. I've even played Helldivers, as I was gifted that on Steam as well. So I have it on PlayStation and that. But yeah, Last Epoch has been pretty good. If you all are not aware, it's an action RPG in the vein of a Diablo. I would say it's less heavy source material wise, like as far as the story and everything. I think it's more fantasy versus Diablo's dark, I guess dark fantasy for Diablo, or dark occultish kind of. I think Diablo is just darker story wise, whereas Last Epoch is more fantasy style. But
Gotcha.
it's a lot that you can do in this game, man. As far as your builds are concerned, there's a lot of ways you can go, and there are 5 starting classes that can evolve into 15 different starting classes, because they have masteries. Each one has 3 different masteries. So you have the Sentinel, you have the Rogue style, you have the Wizard, you have the Necromancer, you have what do they call that person? The one that can transform to a wolf and all that, and bear.
Druid.
Like a druid, exactly. So you have all of them who can change to their masteries to allow more creativity. And Duvie, I know you've been playing it. I think he's playing as a rogue himself. I have been playing as the Sentinel Paladin, and I beat it the other day. Really enjoyed it. I think I put about 50 hours into that game already. Really enjoyed it, and I'm going to try different classes. So shout out to Last Epoch and to my brother Kaz for that. And I have been playing some more of Helldivers 2 as well. Have you ever had a chance to play that yet?
I have, actually. Yeah, a friend of mine. It's funny that you said someone bought it for you, because someone also bought it for me.
Nice.
It was right after some like planet fell or whatever, and everyone was like memeing about it on the internet. And a friend of mine was like, "You're getting drafted, son," and he sent it to me.
Yeah.
So I've been playing it a little bit. I'm almost level 10. I'm like just short of it. I'm having a lot of fun with it. I think that it's one of those things where I think it's an amazing game to play with your friends, but I also think that it's not the best made game, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like it my computer is new, and it runs it perfectly fine. But when I'm playing it, it puts off more heat than I have ever felt my computer put off, and I don't know what that is. And I'm playing other games on my computer that I would at least think would be more demanding. Like I'm playing big RPGs and like all this stuff. and I've never felt heat coming off my computer at all. I turn on Helldivers for like a second, and it's like, bro, are you sure? Why are you doing this? And it's like crashing some of my friends' computers pretty regularly.
Wow.
Yeah, and like I kept running into bugs a lot where like I'll load onto their ship and I'll just get like stuck behind a wall or whatever, or like bugs will just like, I don't know, like there's weird things.
What
But
what
it's one of those things
what
where,
graphics
like,
card are you running for yours, by the way?
it's a 40 something. It's a pre-built.
Okay, so you have a pretty high end. Okay.
Yeah, I
You
didn't
probably have
really
a
look at it
4070
too
or
much.
4080 or something. Yeah.
Yeah,
I would
think
imagine.
can
Is he
think about my PC.
yeah, I'm going to guess 4070 if not a 4080. 4090 would have cost you a mint. So, I'm going to
Yeah.
guess 4070, 4080.
I mean, the computer was about 2000.
Yeah, 4080. That's what it sounds like. Which is
Probably.
really high end. So, yeah, I mean, if it's doing that to you to a 4080,
Yeah,
something,
it's a 4080.
yeah, something is up. Maybe it might be the settings. Something,
Maybe.
because it shouldn't be causing problems for it.
People are saying that, well, it's not causing problems. Like, it runs fine. It just puts off a ton of heat. Like, I'm
Yeah.
just feeling the heat coming off it. The game still runs fine on my end.
That's
A lot of my friends are running into a lot of like really heavy performance problems where, like, especially against bugs, where like when we're surrounded, some of my friends are like, I'm at 10 frames, dude. Like, I don't know what's going on. I'm like, okay, let me just hold it down for a minute.
yeah.
But I'm having a lot of fun with it. Yeah, I think it's a lot of fun. I think for me, it falls into that same bucket as Lethal Company, where it's like, this is a super fun game to play with your friends, but objectively, I don't think it's a particularly well-made game.
You know, this is interesting you say that. I forgot to mention that. We actually did play that too. It was myself, Kaz, and my buddy and great friend, lovely Holly, that blue number. We had played Lethal Company over it, and I played it actually on my PC. Now, my PC is terrible. Let me just get that clear. I don't have anywhere near a 20-something series, let alone a 40-something series. Actually have a 1650. I thought I had a 1660. I have a 1650 currently. Now, I say that to say I'm going to upgrade soon. I'm going to get myself a 4080 Ti, I think, but a super, should I say? So, it's an entirely new, pre-built. Just to throw that out there, that's what I'm going to aim for. But I had played that, and it's not really demanding, right? So
You wouldn't think it, like, because
yeah.
when I'm looking at my computer, especially in terms of like when you pull up the command prompt or whatever,
yeah,
it's not saying that it's using a lot. So I don't understand why it does it. People keep telling me it's the anti-cheat. They're saying that the anti-cheat like makes it run hot. And, drops frames
I
and stuff.
did hear that about the anti-cheat actually.
So I don't know what that is. I don't know why we need anti-cheat in a game that's not PvP, but whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what's going on there.
That's a good point actually. I didn't think about that. The anti-cheat I did hear was causing issues, so that makes sense. But let me say, what was I going to say about that? Yeah, so I had been playing Lethal Company. We tried it out, and the way I play these types of games, man. So they described it to me. Okay, you have to go here, roam around, and you move like this. It's very stiff, right? And you have to collect these items and sell it. And if you don't, you'll see what happens. I'm like, well, clearly something bad is going to happen if we don't make the quota, right? And they tried to set me up too. I'll get to that. But they sent me over there. We go looking, and they're like, watch out for the monsters. You have to run out of there. And so this proximity chat and all of that. I'm like, okay, cool. So I'm learning the ropes. And the whole time, I treat games like this, any horror type game or any game that could be, I wouldn't call it horror, but it's kind of that, right? It's in a vein of survival, or like you have to survive a monster trying to get you. I treat those games with the blackest of blackness inside of me. And same thing.
Okay, go on.
Same thing I did with Grounded. It's like, listen, you're sending the wrong person on this mission because nothing will get done if I sense that I am in danger. The blackness in me kicks in, and it's like, I'm not going over there. That's dangerous. And I'm like, so I'm going in there. I'm very cautious. I'm watching. I'm listening. And I hear a little noise. I hear a little. And I'm like, all right, out of there. Pew! I run through the door. I get outside, right? And we finally get a few items. We didn't make the quota because I couldn't get anything. I'm still learning the ropes. We get to the point, I guess day 3 or whatever, we have to turn in the stuff to the boss. And we're turning it in. We don't have enough. They're like, go over there and press the button. I'm like, huh? I'm not going to press that thing. They're like, just press it. I'm like, you all are setting me up. And so Kaz goes over to press the button, and these tentacles come out and grabs him and snatches him in there and kills him. I'm like, yep, I knew it. My black sense didn't fail me. And sure enough, he gets snatched up and killed off. And I said, yeah, I knew there had to be repercussions if you didn't make the quota, right? So then we're playing further into it. We're going to this building, and I step right in, and he's actually on the radio now. We have radios. So he has the radio going, and he can tell us what's going on from the ship and to let us know if he sees any enemy danger. We get to this part. Before I step in, he doesn't tell me. He tells that blue number. He tells her, hey, watch out. There's enemy right there coming your way. She runs off. I say, hey, what about me? It's clear. Go ahead and go through. I step in and step on a mine immediately and blow me and Holly up immediately.
Oh, no.
I'm like, what? So we're quiet now. Now he can't hear us anymore. Oh, see, Red knows about it. And we're both dead. He has to go and retrieve our bodies or whatever it is. He does that and completes it. I say all that to say it was fun, but I will, to make the greater point, to circle back around, I am with you on that when it comes to Lethal Company and Helldivers. Helldivers 2 is more fun to me, but
for sure.
But I will agree that after, like, you can only play so much of it before you're like, all right, that's enough. That's how I felt. Like, I can play maybe 4 matches, let's say 3 to 5 matches of Helldivers before I'm like, okay, I need to move on to another game. I could play Lethal Company about maybe 2 or 3 matches, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
It's not super engaging to me for that.
Helldivers definitely gets more mileage for me because you like carry stuff over, so you can get new guns and get new armor and all that stuff.
Exactly.
That's important for me to like stay attached to a game. So I do think that it's a thing that me and my friend group will continue to play for a while at least, as long as they keep doing updates that are interesting and we don't fall off to do something else. Whereas Lethal Company was like a weekend for us, and then we were like, I kind of get it, you know?
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. And it's like you said, it's progression. Also, too, shout out to Arrowhead. They've been smart about how they've handled this live service with constant updates and changes. They got that Firestorm. I know, right? Wait, who the hell is Joel?
Joel is he's effectively like the DM of Helldivers. So whenever the bugs just like make a huge push and take over 3 planets all of a sudden, that's Joel. Joel has a plan and he's pushing forward the story.
I have a plan.
Yeah.
So Joel is Dutch.
Yeah, kind of, yeah.
But that's interesting because I kept seeing that they're like, Joel is not going to like that. I'm like, who the hell is Joel? But okay, that explains it. Okay. Well, I'll say this, like, I started seeing meteorites fall lately. And to your point, Pyro asked me, have you used the mechs in Helldivers 2 yet? I have, brother.
They're fun.
And now they have it where you can actually unlock it yourself personally at level 25. It's in there now. So, but I'm
nowhere near that.
Yeah, I'm level 16 now. So I've been playing it off and on here and there, and also on Steam. So I'm dividing my attention on that and other games. But that said, it is fun, the mech. It's not the fastest, but it's pretty powerful, I suppose. Not. Yeah, it's pretty slow, right? And so maybe they can add like a different version of it later or something like this, more mobile but less powerful. I don't know, but we'll see. But I do like that they continuously update this game. Seemingly, it's not really much ado about nothing. They don't really talk about it too much, but they get it done. They just get those things in there.
Dude, and my absolute favorite thing, I don't know if you've seen this, they added flying bugs and they've been gaslighting the community and saying that they're not real.
I haven't.
There's bugs in the game now who fly and
really
like come at you. Yeah, and
I haven't seen them.
They don't show up a ton, but they are in the game. I have seen them. I have fought them. And when you look on the community, like the responses from the devs or whatever are like, nah, dude, nah, that would never happen.
I hadn't noticed that. I
We
did
were like,
see like
Joel, you
these.
son of a bitch.
You're right. You set us up. I did see the Illuminates. You saw that with the Illuminates they're talking about adding in.
Yeah, apparently they're from the first game. I didn't play the first one, so.
Yeah, me either. I didn't know anything about it. But when I looked at them, I'm like, these things look kind of like some of the Forerunners or something in Halo to me a little bit. But in which will make sense because there's a ton of Halo references in this game.
A lot of Halo DNA. There's a
Yeah.
lot of Halo. There's a lot of 40K.
Absolutely, I love it. I have to say. I also love the CEO's response when somebody tried to use him for console.
Oh
war.
yeah, and he was like, "Hey man, just don't."
Yeah, exactly.
Or the one where somebody was like, "Oh, I don't have a ton of money, but I want to play your game. Is it broken or whatever?" He's like, "Just buy it later. Like I don't want you to spend all your like last dollar on a game that doesn't work right now."
That's See,
I have a lot
can
of respect
that.
for.
Yeah,
a lot of respect for that.
I agree. To Pyro, my brother Pyro, he sent a generous $2 pound. How do I say that? £2 gift here to us. He says Cassette Beast is the best game ever. Say it, Danny. I can't say it.
I did play it. I think it's really good. But it's another one. It kind of falls in the same bucket as Lethal Company for me, where I think it has a ton of really, really good ideas, and they just like need maybe a bigger budget or like a second shot at it to really properly execute on it. But it's one of those things where you look at it and you're like, yeah, this could go the distance, but it needs a little help to get there. You know,
it needs a little more, huh? I haven't had a chance to play Cassette Beast yet, Pyro, so I can't give you a thought on it. But I mean, since you sent such a generous donation to me, I'll say it. Cassette Beast is the best ever. Just for you.
I think it's still in Game Pass, so you can give it a shot if you want.
Yeah, I gotta give it a shot. You know, they've added a lot of good games to Game Pass lately too, by the way. I don't know if you all are aware. No More Heroes 3 is on there now.
Dead Island 2, which is like newish, is in there.
What's the name of that? Control is now in there.
Yeah.
So you all have you're no shortage of great games.
And they just got the rights back for that. Remedy did. So.
Pyro says he just clipped that as me saying that.
Good.
I fell into his trap. Shout out to Shooter, by the way. Shout out Shooter. Thank you for coming through, brother. But Danny, let's transition to the news roundup. And guys, this will be we'll go through these, and that'll be really it for the show. Again, we're not trying to go too far with it tonight. Not feeling the best, but so we've actually gone longer than I even thought we would go. Even just
we got talking about wrestling for a while.
Yeah. And we could have kept going, honestly, but I tried to move it along. But shout out to Inked El Chapo. Thanks for coming through, brother. But yeah, what's going on in the news, man?
So not a ton, kind of a slow week in terms of video game news, especially. But one of the things that happened is we've got a date for Summer Game Fest. It's Friday, June 7th. Which is one day after I get back from Italy, so that'll be exciting.
Oh, nice.
Because did I tell you about that? I feel like I did.
I didn't hear about the Italy trip. No.
Yeah. So me and my family are, for the first time ever, as a family, leaving the country, and first time for me ever leaving the country. And we're going to Tuscany for 2 weeks.
Nice.
My parents bought it in some like charity auction or something, and so we're doing that. So I'll be gone May 22nd to June 5th. So I'll be back like right before Summer Game Fest. So I probably won't be able to do any like predictions or anything unless we do them really early. But this is, I don't care for Summer Game Fest. I think I've made that pretty clear over the years of like, I don't think Jeff Keighley has ever put on a good show. I think that they always feel very corporate and very shilly and typically don't have the biggest announcements. And that goes for both, Game Awards and Summer Game Fest, but especially at Summer Game Fest, I feel like whenever he does have big announcements, they are more likely to show up at the Game Awards. Summer Game Fest has never done anything for me, so I don't know. This is the first one after E3 is like officially dead, so maybe they'll do something, but I'm not holding my breath for it. I read that article that came out a couple weeks ago that was like, I think the games industry deserves a better representative than Jeff Keighley, and I agree with that. I think he's probably a good person, and I just don't think I don't know. Like, there's the whole thing of he keeps every Game Awards he comes out and he's like, we're going to celebrate the best in video games, and then he doesn't do that objectively. Like, they exist exclusively to sell ad space and make him money. And like, get your bag, dude, but just don't pretend it's something else.
Pretty much. Yeah, that's the problem I've seen a lot of people had with Jeff Keighley is that.
Yeah. Oh, and it's
yeah.
he like right before announcing the date for Summer Game Fest, like I think it was like 8 hours before, he finally put out a tweet that like acknowledged all the layoffs in the games industry. And I think he was just trying to like clear the air before he was like, and also come watch my thing. Give me your ad revenue.
Right. Yeah. It
so-
seems decidedly only, like he's looking out for himself. And I think that's the idea people get and come away with from it.
Yeah, and I don't want to I don't know the guy, so I don't want to go too hard on him.
Yeah.
But I think the vibe that I get off of him from his shows is just like, this is a man who's here to line his pockets, and that's fine. But let's stop pretending that he gives a shit about video games, because it has never felt like that to me.
Yeah. Yeah, I can hear that. What else did we have though? I'm expecting at least some good things to be there. I think this past year was pretty solid, I would say. I still think the VGA show more in terms of what I was excited for, but let me take that back. I thought it was okay too, actually, now that I think about it. So now let me rewind, because now I have to refresh my memory. Xbox event was actually really damn good.
Yeah.
Keeley's was okay. I agree with you. It was actually, I think, it was either a 6.5 or a 7 to me. I think it was a 6.5. So it wasn't bad, but it wasn't great either, now that I'm thinking back on it. But the VGA, I think I confused it with the VGAs. The VGAs was actually pretty solid as far as like new stuff they were showing. So I do agree with you. I think they tend to show better stuff at the VGAs than the Summer Game Fest, personally. Yeah.
No, yeah. I mean, yeah, 100%.
I think you're right about that. But hopefully this year this is really, really solid. Hopefully we'll see what happens. But what else did we have?
Nintendo has, on Mario Day, announced very little, but they did say that Mario movie is getting a sequel. It made like $1 billion. I didn't see it, so I don't know if I care. But
I still haven't watched it either. I thought I was alone in that.
The rumor is that it's supposed to apparently have Yoshi in it. I guess they're doing like a Yoshi's Island type deal. That's what everyone's saying. I don't know if that's true. And it's currently planned to release in April of 2026. So they're starting animating on it. I was almost said filming, but it's a cartoon.
That's a relatively fast turnaround for a movie. By the way, have you guys all watched Mario's movie? The first one? Did you all check that out? And I would say this too, by the way. I'm sure you might have it in a news roundup, but 2026 for this, which is a lot of animation, and we all know how hard it is to animate and how long it takes to do that.
Yeah, ask the Into the Spider-Verse developers.
Right, and if you look at the anime people who do what they do, we see how tough it. Yeah, my question would be, why in God's name are we having such a delay with the Batman Part 2?
Oh yeah, that's a really good question. I know that some of the delay is obviously because of the like the writer strike and all that. Like some of it can definitely be chopped up to that, but because it got pushed back. It was supposed to be, I think,
next year. Was it this year? Then they moved it to next year, and now
it just got delayed. I don't remember where to. Let me look.
I think 2026 now, if I'm not mistaken. Now it's 2026 for that.
I think you're probably right.
Yeah, it's insane. Like, what the hell? Like,
2025 should be good for comic book movies though, because we're getting the new Superman movie, and then we're also getting Joker 2, which is apparently gonna be good. It was pushed back to 2026. You're right.
Yeah, I have to be honest. Joker, I thought as a movie was okay.
Yeah,
I did not think it was good as a comic version of Joker, because it just did not seem like Joker to me at all. It just seemed like they made this artsy film of a dude going crazy.
Yeah, and then put a thin paint of Batman over the top.
Exactly.
I completely agree. Like, I think it was a good movie. I think it was a bad Batman movie.
That's fair. Yeah.
Like, there were some really good performances in it. When you like sort of peel back the layers to find out like why the guy said the things that he said and did the things that he did in that movie, like on the writing side, it becomes a little bit sketchier in a way that's like kind of gross. But if you separate art and artist, then like, yeah, I think the movie's fine. I agree. I didn't care for it as much as a lot of people did.
Yeah.
But I don't know, it won a bunch of awards, so what do I know, I guess.
Yeah. I'm Yeah. Well, hopefully it's good. I know they got Lady Gaga for the second one too, right?
Yeah, it's like
She's
a musical.
Harley. Oh, it's a
It's
musical.
interesting. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's the Joker 2 Folia Do is a Lady Gaga musical.
Oh
So it's
wow.
I don't know. I'm curious how that's gonna work out. I'm definitely interested in seeing it. It's either gonna be a huge train wreck or really, really funny or both.
Yeah, we can see. We'll see, I suppose. Um, yeah, Abdel, I think Matt Reeves' Batman was actually, I wouldn't say it's the best standalone comic movie, but it was damn good. I wouldn't say
It's definitely up there for me.
It's up there.
I'd have to really think about it.
Yeah, I would still put stuff like, if we just say standalone, so no sequel, you're saying basically standalone. Tough. Well, this is gonna have a sequel, but like for movies like Blade, for instance, for me, Blade has a high reverence for me, but then it did have sequels, so it's not a standalone. What movie could I say that it was like this one? Oh, Dread. Like Dread was
definitely
it's high up there, right? Yeah,
the newer one. The original one was kind of ass, but the newer one.
I even have a soft place in my heart for the old one with Sylvester Stallone. I
Really?
am
Hell
the
yeah.
law. Yeah,
I
still have
like
a
it,
soft
but it's
place.
like a guilty pleasure movie. I don't think that it's not
Yeah.
good, but I enjoy it.
I hear you. What's up, Dreadpool? Thanks for coming through, bro. But yeah, what else do we have, man, in the news?
Speaking of movies, just while we're on that topic, Sony is re-releasing all 8 of the Spider-Man movies over the course of the summer. So throughout April to June, there's going to be all of the core Spider-Man movies, all 3 of the Tobey Maguire ones, both of the Amazing Spider-Mans, and all 3 of the Tom Holland ones are going to be re-released in like a staggered format. I saw specifically Cinemark. I don't know if other theaters are doing it. But it's sort of a double-edged thing, because people are like, oh, they're celebrating 100 years of Sony Pictures, but then also people are like, they've also put out a lot of movies that cost a lot of money and made none, so they're re-releasing the ones that they know people will go and spend money on.
Everybody get your Nickelback albums out and head out to see the Raimi movies.
It's smart because like they will make money off it, and they obviously don't have to remake these movies because they're already there. And here's my hot take though, is I think most of those movies are pretty bad. Like the Amazing Spider-Man movies are bad, like definitively.
I agree. I don't care for them.
And I also don't like the Tobey Maguire ones anymore. I don't think they hold up like at all.
Oh, really?
I think there's a lot of really bad acting in it.
It is some bad acting, to be fair. But I would say like the nostalgia of it.
Because I recently rewatched them with a friend, and she's awful. She's so bad in it. She's bad. What's his dick? Willem Dafoe's son,
James Franco. Yeah,
James Franco's really bad. And also, I think Tobey Maguire's pretty awful too. Like, I don't think any of the like core cast other than
Willem Dafoe.
Willem Dafoe does great, and I forget his name, but the guy who played Doc Ock did great.
Oh, everyone else, Alfred Molina. Yeah,
they were both phenomenal. Everyone else, I'm like, this shouldn't have happened.
And those, I mean, top quality actors too, to be fair.
For sure.
So
yeah,
I can see what you mean, but yeah, it is cheap. That's the thing. I think that's the charm and maybe the curse of Sam Raimi films. Even if you look at, no matter which film you look at, his talent he might have, it might be otherwise decent actors, but typically they'll get cheesy dialogue. They'll kind of be framed cheesily.
Oh man,
like that's kind of his shtick, I think.
And just like constant cutaways to screaming women. Like
exactly.
I don't know what that's about.
Yeah, he does it all the time.
But it's constant. It's like every movie. There's like 17 of them.
Listen, I watched,
and like they're funny.
They are funny.
I don't know if that's what he was going for.
They are funny. Like I remember going to see Drag Me to Hell at the theaters, which gave me a massive headache. I took a date to see that, and it was so blaringly loud. Ooh. I couldn't even enjoy it, and it had all those same things in it because it's Sam Raimi, so it's gonna have those odd cuts and quick cuts to action of things happening to throw you off. And of course, it's a horror movie too, so now you're jumping around and then you blood, and it's all these loud blood. And I still think about the time when the dead older lady, whatever, she turned the coffin over and the embalming fluid or whatever threw up in her mouth, and I was like, yuck.
Yeah. I've actually never seen Drag Me to Hell, so I have no frame of reference for this.
You have to watch it. Definitely
I don't know.
watch it.
You're not selling it to me particularly.
It's not a bad movie. It's not a
Okay,
bad
okay.
movie. It actually did some things I didn't expect. I will say, like especially the beginning of it. Like I didn't expect. You don't typically see that, in my opinion, in horror movies. So you'll see when you watch it. But it's Sam Raimi, right? So you're gonna still get an enjoyable movie. It
Yeah,
still
and
might
I really
be
like
cheesy.
Sam Raimi. It's not because I think that the Spider-Man movies were really good at the time. I think that it's just when you go back and watch it with like a frame of reference of what comic book movies have become,
Yeah.
you're like, yeah, this doesn't pass the smell test anymore. Like as a kid,
Yeah.
I was like, hell yeah, let's do it. But now it's just like, ooh,
Yeah.
rough, buddy.
Yeah, I agree. And pretty much like Pyro put it, I kind of agree with that. He says Toby was a great Peter, but mid Spider-Man. Garfield was a great as Spider-Man, but his Peter was lacking. I love Tom Holland as his pretty great as both.
That's
I
spot
agree.
on.
That's how I see it too. I think Tom is great in both positions as far as Peter and Spider-Man. And honestly, Toby was lacking when it came to his Spider-Man. He's
just not
too milk
Yeah.
toast and laid back, and I don't know.
Yeah, and I just don't think he's a particularly good actor. You know, I've never seen him in something where I loved him. I think of the three of them, ironically, Andrew Garfield is probably the best actor. You wouldn't necessarily know it from the Amazing Spider-Man movies, but like stuff that he's done after that, he's really good.
In the other movies, he is really solid. I mean, like what was the name of that movie he played? It was a Facebook movie. What's the name of that?
God,
I can't remember the name of it, but you know what I'm talking about.
Was he in Social Network? Is that what you're talking
Social
about?
Network, yeah, he was in that, I believe, and I mean other movies too. You're right. I think he is pretty solid actor, actually. I think Tom Holland is pretty solid too. To be fair, I've seen him in other things, but
I feel like his track record is a little bit more hit and miss though, because for every really good movie he's in, there's also like a hey, I'm in Doolittle for no reason. And we're like, okay, cool, dude.
Yeah, I agree. But yeah, so that's the interesting thing. I don't know if you guys are going to go check that out, but if you do, Hacksaw Ridge, that's another one. Exactly.
Yeah, he was really good in Hacksaw Ridge.
Yeah, that's another one. But I would say, get your Nickelback shirts and stuff out in a frame. You know, look at this photograph, so you can get every time I do, it makes me laugh. You get yourselves ready for these, throwback to Sam Raimi films, guys. What else do we have?
We got a handful of quick Persona hits here. So Persona 3 Reload, one of the only games that's come out this year that I've actually played, although it's a remake, so I don't know if it even... Anyway, the expansion pass is free with Game Pass, which is awesome, because like honestly it's content that I wish was just in the game normally, but hey, if I don't have to pay for it, and it's just a perk, like you don't have to own Game Pass to, like, it's not like how what is it, Games with Gold is, where you get the game, but if you lapse, then you don't have it anymore. If you have Game Pass at any point between now and whenever it goes off, which I think it's like January, so you got time. You just download it and then you've got it. It comes with 3 things. You get some throwback battle music from the previous Persona games. You get a costume pack, and you get basically the bonus content, the episode Aegis that was in the FES re-release on PS2.
Nice.
Which is really, really good. And outside of this is like $30, which I think is way too much. So if you have Game Pass, 100% take advantage of this. Even if you don't think you're going to play this anytime soon, just go ahead and download it, because if in the future you decide to play it, you're going to want this episode, and you're not going to want to have to pay extra for it. I promise you.
Yeah, that's a W right there to get that free like that. It makes me wonder.
I think the biggest thing that has been in like a Game Pass perk for me personally.
Oh yeah, but see that type of thing opens the door for me. It makes me wonder, how are they going to handle it for like Shattered Space? I'm pretty sure they're going to charge us, but yeah. To be fair, that's Starfield, but I wonder how they might handle that with other games, because we still got that same treatment, for instance, with Gears. Like Gears did that. So
I was gonna say Highbusters was in Game Pass, wasn't it?
Yep. So that's pretty cool though. Shout out to Atlas and to Microsoft for giving us that.
Yeah, really, really happy with that. And speaking of Persona, according to some rumors that I don't know how strongly I believe in, so take it with a huge grain of salt, but apparently Persona 6 is almost done and announcement is imminent. This comes from Reset Era, so like 100% don't believe it, but it's just a fun thing to put out there.
Yeah.
They're saying it's like 95% complete. They're also claiming that it's going to launch day one on Xbox, which at this point I'd be shocked if it didn't. Yeah. And the other thing that they said is that apparently it has some amount of open world aspect, which I don't know that I like. But they've made a lot of good games over at Atlas. I will give them the benefit of the doubt until proven wrong.
I'll say this: I haven't had a chance to really dive in. I don't mean I say I haven't had a chance. I haven't given myself the chance to jump into any of the Persona games. So I do want to get into them and really, like, I've watched gameplay. I'm like, this is interesting, right? Clearly, it has its fan base for a reason. So I do want to give it a shot. So I'm actually hyped for that. But I'm just happy that one of these franchises that had long skipped the Xbox is finally over here and they're all landing now. So that's a positive. I'm still wondering about what the hell is up with Octopath Traveler 2. That's what I'm wondering.
That's weird, right?
Yeah.
I feel like that's got to be coming over at some point. There's got to be some like contract or something that they have to ride out before it can be brought over. That's the only thing I think of. I think that and the Pixel remaster, I think announcements of those coming to Xbox are imminent because because Square Enix has said as much. Like they've said that they're working to put more games on Xbox, and I think that those are two of the most obvious things that are missing that need to go over there. Because like obviously there's the Final Fantasy VII remake trilogy, whatever the hell, and we have no idea what the situation with that is. It feels like there's a lot of contracts and nonsense going on with that, but these ones are probably a little bit easier.
Okay.
So I would not be surprised to see those come over. And like honestly, any day.
Yeah.
They could just a tweet and hey, the Pixel remasters are here.
They should. There's no reason why those should not be on here. It's ridiculous that Square keeps shooting themselves in the foot like this. I don't understand it. Even now, you look at it with the sales of the Rebirth, it's not even hitting what it should be for them. Like
I don't have that on here, but yeah, one of the things, because there's some like contention of whether or not like it's as bad as it sounds, but when you compare because the numbers we're looking at, because they haven't announced anything yet, are based just on, I think it's physical releases in Japan and then physical releases in Europe, I think are the two that we saw, or like the UK. And both of them are down dramatically from the previous one. So, is that more people going digital? Is that less people being interested in the game? I don't know. I'm in a really weird situation because I thought that the game, I haven't played the game, I haven't touched it, so I have no opinion on it as far as that's concerned.
Right.
But I was under the impression that the game was like being widely loved. But I brought that up to some friends of mine who are Final Fantasy fans while we were playing Helldivers. And like they're Final Fantasy people, they're PlayStation people, so they're absolutely not the kind of people that would be like on the let's dunk on Final Fantasy because Xbox thing. Like they're not fanboys at all. And they were super negative on Rebirth. Like they think that game sucks, and I don't know why.
Listen,
but they're saying like the Final Fantasy community, if I could put that together in a sentence, is apparently pretty low on the game, and I don't know why. I'm curious to find out what the situation is.
Like you see the reviews and it's like what 93 or something like that.
Yeah, I see people like Tim Geddes or whatever from Kind of Funny constantly talking about how good it is, and like I believed him because I really liked the first one. But then I see it's this weird disconnect where when I talk to people in the real world about it, they're like it sucks, and when I look at people online talking about it, they're like it's amazing. And I'm like I don't know what's happening.
I'm confused completely. Yeah, because I tried the demo of Rebirth out, and I absolutely hated it.
Really?
I did not like it. And I played through Final Fantasy 16, as you know. So, and I put in I'm talking 200 plus hours into that, 50 something into Final Fantasy 16 and its DLC. Platinum them both. So I can say for certain I enjoyed 16, though it had many flaws. I played Rebirth and I hadn't played Remake, so maybe that's part of the problem for me in getting used to that ATB system or whatever. I didn't care for it, man. I didn't like the cheesiness of the dialogue.
It's definitely cheesy.
The visuals are hurting in areas I saw. I didn't like it. That's the best way I can put it. So I'm in line with your friends there. Although I don't have a full, robust play of time, concerning it was just a demo to say that. But from what I played in the demo, it did nothing to impress me. I'll just say that. As far as like, there were certain parts that was cool, like when you do like the team attacks and stuff like that. That was nice and everything. But other than that, it didn't really wow me. It didn't really do anything for me.
It's weird because I feel like I haven't played it myself personally because I still want to play the Intergrade like DLC, and I haven't gotten around to that. Because I want to see they added like Yuffie or whatever in it, and I want to see that whole storyline before I play the whole new game. But it's weird because it's not just like some people are like, yeah, it's pretty good, and some people are like, actually I didn't care for it. It's like extremely polar. Like on the
critic side, I'm seeing people be like, I can't believe this game is real. This is one of the best games of all time. And then on the like real world side, I'm seeing people being like, this is terrible. They shouldn't have made this. This was a mistake. And it's like, it like complete. It's like 10 out of 10, 2 out of 10.
Yeah, it's
I'm
very
like,
weird.
What's happening? What is the disconnect here?
From what I'm hearing too,
so
I saw some people point out. They said that if you look at it in terms of, I think it was, who was this that said this? I can't remember his name right now, but he said that they did a more of a focus on the interpersonal like relationships of the characters, and that's more of the focal point versus the actual narrative of what the game is. And some people are not registering it because of that. I don't know how true that is or not, but that's what I'm hearing. So like
Pyro
the
brings
narrative
up
isn't as
something
strong.
interesting. Is he's talking about Zack and the multiverse stuff going on. That's something that in the original game is like barely touched on. Like I've played Final Fantasy VII and I really don't know who Zack is, because his story is a lot from like, you know, was it Crisis Core and some of the other spin-offs, but they're making him a bigger deal in Rebirth, and I wonder if that's the problem, because Zack's storyline is really confusing, and in my opinion, because I've looked it up since, Zack's storyline is pretty stupid. Like it's genuinely, it's bad.
Yeah.
He's literally just like a palette swap Cloud, and then they're like, Cloud's not really cool. It's actually this guy. Cloud's actually nobody. And you're like, okay, dude. Like the inclusion of Zack in the story has always been a negative for me. So I almost wonder if that being serviced more front facing has people being like,
Maybe.
I thought this was supposed to be like one of the best games of all time, and now it's the. You know what I mean?
Okay, see, now I don't know enough about Final Fantasy, but when I saw the Zack guy pop up too, I'm like, who's that, Sasuke? First off. Secondly, I was like, is he like Cloud brother? He has like a similar sword and the Buster sword almost. And, you know, and I didn't really understand it.
Yeah, without too much spoilers. Well, actually, you know what? It can't even be a spoiler, because I think they change it in Rebirth, and I don't know what it is. So in the original, Zack was the actual guy. Like Zack was the soldier. Zack was the guy who did everything with Sephiroth and did that whole story.
Mm-hmm.
And Cloud just like got brain rot and forgot who he was and sort of like replaced Zack.
Yeah.
So all of that whole backstory between Cloud and Sephiroth was not Cloud, it was Zack. And
What?
that revelation comes in one of the spin-offs, and it's really stupid.
So in Rebirth, the demo I played when he was going through the town with Sephiroth, that wasn't even Cloud's memory?
That was Zack. That was Cloud remembering Zack's memory. And Tifa, the only thing that they touch on in the original game, and it's very, you know, back in the day narrative wasn't like the strongest thing surfaced. They do touch on it in the original game, because there's a bit where Tifa talks about how like Cloud doesn't remember certain things. So like Tifa also isn't really friends with Cloud. She was friends with Zack. Like they were the ones who grew up together. Yeah, dude. Yeah. It's dumb as shit. And so the idea of them like really front facing that, I think, is a huge mistake.
That sounds it sounds terrible.
Zack's story, especially in Crisis Core. Oh my god, Crisis Core is like one of the worst Final Fantasy games, and I've gotten shit on for saying that in the past. I said it in one of my videos. Mm-hmm. Crisis Core is a dog shit Final Fantasy game. It is on par with like Final Fantasy 13. And to be fair, I haven't played the first like 5. I started at 6, so I don't know. Maybe those ones are ass. Mm-hmm. But Crisis Core is ass.
You know, it's funny you say that. It's on sale, by the way, but if anyone wants to try that ass game.
Yeah, I don't know if the remake is good. I'm not going to touch it because I hate the original so much.
Yeah.
It's so bad. It's so bad. And the Final Fantasy 7 situation right now is like, it's kind of like how Sony is with Spider-Man a little bit, where like it feels like Square is really, really trying to milk Final Fantasy 7 because it's like, this is the thing that makes money for us, except like, I don't know, it doesn't make that much, because they're turning one game into 3, like breaking that into 3 different games. And then there's also like, we're going to do Crisis Core. We're going to do Intergrade. We're going to do that, like, what was it? The First Soldier Battle Royale mode. We're going to do the one where it's a mobile game and it's Sephiroth. We're going to do probably a Dirge of Cerberus one. Like, we're going to have, by the end, when everything is said and done, assuming Square Enix doesn't die between now and the end of their plans here, we're going to have like 10 Final Fantasy 7s. It's going to be real dumb. like the confusion and ignorance of the storyline of Final Fantasy 7 is going to become on par with Kingdom Hearts. I promise.
Oh, wow.
I promise.
I could believe it. Kingdom Hearts was very convoluted as well.
Same writers, same people.
Yeah. See, that's part of the problem why I felt like I can never really get into the Final Fantasies. Every time I saw it, it just felt like, what the hell is going on in here?
There's some really good ones, but a lot of them get
Bogged
the word that
down with
keeps
all
coming
of
to
that.
mind is like ignorant, and that's not correct.
Yeah.
But like there's a lot of Final Fantasy games where you're playing through it and you're like, yeah, and then like some cutscene will happen and they throw 47 new proper nouns at you and they're like, remember what all of these things. The Final Fantasy 13 is the worst at it because they'll be like, there's the Lassie and there's the Falsy and there's the this and there's the that, and I'm like, bro, stop. I don't care. I don't like the gameplay or the characters or the narrative of this story enough to even continue like this game. I had to go back and force myself to finish 13. Like was it last year or 2 years ago?
Yeah.
And I finished it, and one of my friends was like, yeah, well, now you get to play Final Fantasy 13 too, which is the good one. And I'm like, I would rather pound nails through my feet. Like, I'm not doing it. If it's anywhere near this.
13
like,
was with lightning, right? That's with lightning.
Yeah. They're like, 13-2 is the one where like they really take these characters and do some interesting things with them. And I'm like, I don't care. I don't like these characters. I don't like any of them. There's not a single character in Final Fantasy 13 that I think has a single redeeming quality.
Yeah.
I hate every single one of them.
Yeah. So Abdel said he finished Crisis Core, didn't understand anything.
Yeah. Well, did you play the remake or did you play the original? Because the
Which one was it
original
for you,
for
Abdel?
sure was awful.
Yeah.
The remake, I'm hoping they at least fix some of it, but the original is just like, oh god, it's so weird. And like there's this weird slot machine that's always spinning. I forget what they call it. But every time it like finishes, there's like an AI voice that comes over and says a thing, and it's the most annoying. Like it's constant. Like the story's bad, the gameplay is irritating. I hate that game.
I am going to make it my business to play through more Final Fantasy games. I have Final Fantasy 9. My friend told me that was his favorite of all time, so I'm going to try out. I'm going to play that and probably play it through the ROG, through Xbox xCloud or whatever, off the ROG, and see how I feel about that, and try to play through more of the older ones and make my way up through, including 13, and see if I can see how I feel about it. I'm going to make that my mission.
Start with the original 7, I guess, because I don't know if 6 is on Xbox. I don't know if it is.
I don't think it is.
You can do that.
Yeah, I don't think 6 is.
7, 8, and 9, I think are all pretty easy to go back and play at this point. Especially since if you play them on current Xbox, you can get the thing where you can like speed up the game and like just make it so you win all the fights if you just get tired of it, because those games get pretty long.
Okay.
Which like, you know, I would advise to avoid doing as much as possible because it does kind of ruin the game a little bit. But if it's literally just like I'm grinding levels, you can just speed that shit up and just like get the levels in.
I'm gonna make it my business to try that. By the way, shout out to Tryhard Fan. He said Final Fantasy 16 is the only Final Fantasy game for me. I enjoyed it, man. I really did. Like I said, I put in close to 300 hours into that game. That's including the DLC, and I platinumed them both. So I did enjoy it. There are flaws in it that hold it back from being what I would call great, but it is good. It is a good game, I would say. I love the voice acting. Some of the action is solid, though they could have been better with that. The traversal around and the stuff was just like, I didn't care for that. And the side missions were trash. I'm sorry to say it, but they were. But they had some good points about it too, I would say. Shout out to John Wolf too. What's up, brother? Thanks for coming through.
I agree. I think that it is probably a good game. I'm definitely lower on it than you are, but I think it's pretty good. For me, I think my favorite Final Fantasies, and again, I've only played the ones from 6 to now. My favorites are 6, 9, and 10, probably.
6, 9, and 10.
12 is pretty good too, but it's a little rough to like get into because their battle system is really confusing.
9 is the one with the guy that's like with the blonde hair, and he had like that little overalls and stuff on, right? With the blue overalls or something like that, I think it was. Is that right?
Yes.
Because 8 was the one with the guy with the Leon. I call it the Leon S. Kennedy jacket on. That's the one with the Leon Kennedy jacket and the gun sword, I think, right?
Yeah. So Final Fantasy 8 is the one. He does look like Leon. That's a good way to put it. His name's Squall.
Squall. That's it. Okay.
I do like 8, but it's like Hot Topic coded. Like it's rough in that way.
Yeah.
But I like it. 9 is it. You're right. It has a blonde kid. I don't think he's wearing overalls. He's got like a tail and shit. His name's Zidane. But that's the one that has like it has Vivi, who's a popular character. It's like the kind of generic black mage. thing where it doesn't have a face; it's just black with the 2 yellow lights, like a Jawa.
Okay.
So you've probably seen that character. I think he shows up in Kingdom Hearts actually.
Oh, and that's final. Which one is this one? Final Fantasy.
That's 9.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
that's the one I got. Okay, that's the one I have. Yeah.
Yeah, I like 9 a lot. Apparently, it's getting a remake soon. So
Oh,
here's
nice.
hoping. Hopefully, they don't split it up into a million games like 7.
So maybe it's 10. I'm thinking of
10 is, yeah, 10's the one with Titus or Titus, depending on.
That's it.
what part of
That's the
world you wanna be
one.
from.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of. 10. Okay. Yeah.
I like 10 a lot. It's also a little hot topic, but it's in that time period. It's like early 2000s.
Yeah,
So
that's the one.
and you could feel it. But man, I think for me personally, I think that's my favorite companion cast of any Final Fantasy.
It looks
I
pretty
love-
solid.
I love them.
Yeah, they have
Lulu's my girl.
They have Lulu. Oh yeah, Lulu. She's kind of sexy. Riku.
Lulu, Kamari, Waka.
Yeah, Riku.
I mean, Waka's a little
Yuna.
problematic because he is wildly racist at one point. But, like, he's fine. It's fine. He gets better.
He gets over it.
He gets over
He
it.
improves. But yeah, like it's funny because while I've never played 10, I've seen all of these characters from Titus to Waka to Yuna to Riku to Lulu to
Yeah.
Aron. I've seen them all. And part of this, I want to give a shout out to our dearly deceased brother who made the Dead Fantasy. If you all remember that. I'm not sure if you guys are aware of it. Where he made the Dead Fantasy how do I want to call this series? I guess it was made by Monty Ohm. Not sure if you guys remember him. Monty Oum. Monty Ohm. He had passed away unfortunately some years ago, but he did like a all out fighting thing where it was the cast from Dead Alive, the ladies from that, and mixed them in with the fighting from Ninja Gaiden to Final Fantasy to Kingdom Hearts, all mixed in with each other and fighting against each other. And that's where I saw most of these characters. If you all have not seen that,
Yeah, I've never heard of it.
oh, you have to see it, Danny. You have. I'm going to type this in the chat so you guys can
Yeah,
remember.
definitely send
this.
that to me.
Yeah, I'll make sure. I'm going to make it my business to send it to you. Dead. You all check that out. They have them I think they have a compilation of them too. And I think people have remastered it to make it look even sharper now. Oh, see, Pyro knows. Yeah, so
I don't know.
classic, Danny. I think you would honestly love it.
I gotta get in there.
The work this guy did for the animation of them fighting each other, he eventually got picked up by one of these studios too. I forgot who. But the guy was just so good, man. He passed away very early, unfortunately.
Oh,
But it was so damn good. He also did what they call Haloid, which was a mixture of Halo and Metroid. That was that was damn good. Let me type that into the chat too. Haloid. So
is this like a web series or something?
it's like a YouTube little fighting series he put together. The Haloid it only has one, but Dead Fantasy is like a 5-parter or so, or maybe like he did have some that he was still working on that never made the light of day. So they were like 5 and 6 and stuff, but they were like loosely strewn about. And then you see Cloud and the characters start to pop in, and they play into the jewels that the Final Fantasy characters get. I'm not sure what they call those, like, you know, those jewels that you could put in Cloud's sword and stuff like that.
They change depending on the game. So because in 7 it's materia, and in 10 it's they just call it spheres. I think there's like the sphere grid. Maybe it's still materia. I don't know.
I think in the series they called it materia too. So I think that's right. In the Dead Fantasy they called it that.
Yeah.
So they play on that and how they can get it to power them up and stuff. So let me send this to you now. So there's no mistakes because I want you to see this. And I want to get your feedback on that when you ever do get a chance to watch it. I loved it.
100%.
Classic. And if you guys haven't checked it out, give it a check. Definitely. Red versus Blue. Red versus Blue is over with now, though, PS5 blows, because Rooster Teeth is no more.
Rooster Teeth is gone.
Yeah.
There's some question about whether or not Red vs. Blue and a couple of the other series are actually dead, because they're gonna. It's like that and Ruby, and I think there's like 2 others that apparently they're trying to like sell off to other people who might continue it.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, that sucks. Rooster Teeth going down like that. Rooster Teeth was like the biggest thing when I was in middle school, high school.
Mhm.
That shocked me to see them just like shut down, because I can't imagine they weren't making money. Like they weren't a huge company. They were like 150 people. They were putting out a bunch of shows that were relatively popular. I mean, I know Ruby was really big. at least for a while there.
It was.
So I can't imagine that they were like a financial drain for WB or whatever. So I don't get it. I don't understand it.
I guess just WB is just going through a lot of pains in general.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. But what else did we have in the news? And guys, again, we're going to wrap it up after we get through this. So
yeah, we only got a handful left, and I think a lot of these are going to be pretty fast. Activision QA union, 600 members of Activision's QA department have formed a union. They say, quote, "This has been an emergent effort that's arisen in the last few weeks in response to the opportunities we've had to freely organize following the merger," Shelley said. Shelley's the HR head. As QA workers, we often have the weakest protections, the lowest pay of any workers in the industry, even though our work is integral to the success of the companies we work for and the titles we make. This makes it the largest singular union in video games. And honestly, most of the other ones that exist are also currently in Microsoft, because there's a Blizzard one, there's a ZeniMax one. So, we love to see it. This is a thing that directly counteracts some of the huge sweeping layoffs that we've been seeing. So I'm happy for it. I'm happy for it. It at this point kind of feels like it's a foot race between unions moving in and studios shutting down.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope that unions win, I guess.
Yeah,
I'm all for workers' rights, and I want the people who make the things that I love to be protected in doing so.
Yep, 100% agreed. Let me send you this last link. But no, I'm with you on that as far as when it comes to that and the unionization of things. What else did we have in the news?
Yeah, there's not a ton to say there. Some new devs have started a studio. It's one article that I saw listed them as primarily id Software devs, and other ones labeled them as Naughty Dog devs and Activision devs. My assumption is it's some combination of the three. I looked for more clarifying information on it, but I couldn't. Anyway, there's a bunch of people who I assume were all laid off from these teams, have started a new studio called Empty Vessel. They haven't announced what game they're working on yet. They've got a website up you can look at. It looks like it's some kind of sci-fi thing.
Empty Vessel.
But it's looking really good. It's looking, this is one of the things that we talked about when we were talking about like all these mergers happening and all these layoffs, is like some of these people are going to spin off and they're going to start their own thing. And we're seeing that. We're also, just while we're on the topic, Stig from was it Respawn? The guy who
Osmundson, yeah,
from the Jedi Survivor series, or not Survivor, Jedi. You know what I mean? The new ones,
Jedi Survivor
ones.
Yep.
He has also started a new studio after stepping down from. I want to say it was Respawn, but I'm not confident in that for some reason. And he started a new studio called Giant Skull. So we're seeing a couple of new studios crop up in the wake of all these layoffs. It's again, this is a positive thing. It sucks that they lost their jobs and that they felt that they needed to go and do their own thing. But at the same time, putting some of these heavily creative people who made some really great games in new space is just going to mean that we're going to get fresh ideas and fresh games. And I'm all for it. Change is not bad, in my opinion, especially when the alternative is these people all just like leaving the industry permanently and going into banking or retiring or something. So I'm all for it. I think this is great. I am excited to see what these two teams can cook up, and I hope that they see massive success.
No, I'm actually really excited for that. This is some more of the upside of of what we've been hearing as far as like layoffs and things like that. Sometimes we get to a point where we start seeing people come together from these different teams and form something unique and better. So I'm actually really excited for that, for both Giant Skull and as you put it, Empty Vessel. So we'll see what happens with that. I mean, you got crazy talent from both, coming from both Naughty Dog, Activision, and then with Stig, like you pointed out, to this. So I'm excited for this. I just hope that they it seems like, if I'm not mistaken, it seems like Empty Vessel was going to go to a first-person shooter themselves. I believe that's what I read. I want to see them kind of go beyond what we've kind of seen them do. But other than that, I am happy for that being the case, that they formed something out of this, when it's all these all we've heard is negativity of layoffs, and actually there was
Yeah.
some actually today that we got news of.
Yeah,
today.
I've got them in here.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's just jump straight to that, I guess. So Respawn had layoffs. Respawn of formerly Stig. We don't have a number on how many yet. It's part of the 670 layoffs that EA had announced, 2 weeks ago now.
Mm-hmm.
This is really confusing to me. Respawn is probably one of their more money-making teams between Apex and the Jedi Fallen Order, yada yada.
Yeah.
Those are two of the most successful games coming out of EA right now, other than maybe the sports titles. So I'm really shocked to hear like that Respawn is the one being specifically named as taking layoff hits.
Yeah, it's pretty surprising.
Yeah, I mean, I assume it's happening elsewhere because I don't think there's 670 people working at Respawn. I would have, I don't say that I want it to happen, but I'm surprised that we're not hearing this coming out of like BioWare from all the trouble that they've been having, or like maybe the sports teams like the what is it, football club, whatever, FC, the thing that isn't FIFA anymore because they lost the thing. Like, I'm surprised that we're not seeing that's not one of the areas that we're seeing the heavy layoffs. I am genuinely shocked that it's Respawn that is getting hit in this way.
I am too. I guess it would possibly I'm going to guess it possibly point to a downturn in what Apex is bringing in. I mean, it's a stiff competition out there when it comes to all of these. That's the only thing I can imagine, but it does seem surprising, right? Especially with Vince there with them, you would think they would be kind of untouchable. But I would imagine too, maybe the whole situation where they had to cancel the Star Wars games they were making. Maybe they had a lot of money backed on that would have supported these teams that now they don't. So now they have to let go of some people. I wonder if that plays a part into this.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it must. I mean, it's. I don't know. I really don't understand it. I'm sure that they have their reasons for it. I just don't know that their reasons are good enough to justify it to me personally,
Especially when you see the uptick of what, like, the operating costs and everything like that, and the revenue that EA brings in. It's like they make $1 billion a year. It's like, it's kind of hard to be like, well, we understand it from EA's perspective. Like, no, we really don't.
Yeah.
And it does suck. And I've seen some people saying like they got unceremoniously sent off. And like, that's the constant thing we keep seeing, how like the way they do it is also terrible. Like, some guy said, I believe, that he had no idea of what was going on. He just got in and was like pretty much dumped. Like, all right, you're fired basically. And I think there needs to be something said to that on how they approach giving people this bad news. Because I feel like there's almost no good way to deliver bad news, but certainly doing it in a trash way is going to exactly. So I'm looking into it more, and it's saying some of the people who they've worked with are from 3 years now let go. One of these people let go was Apex Legends global social media lead Alex Ackerman. After 20 seasons of Apex and 5 years at Respawn, nearly to the day my job has been made redundant and I have been laid off, she said. Working on this game and supporting this community has truly been an honor and of my career, been the honor of my career and a highlight of my life. Build engineer Tyler Owens added that he's completely gutted by the most recent layoffs at the studio. Yeah, as of writing, it's unclear how many people were let go. So they don't have much more than that because, EA is probably not going to respond. But yeah, man, it seems none of us want to hear this news about the layoffs. But again, it's like, how do you handle that as a company? And I think there has to be a better way and a better approach. For me, I would say, don't let me come into work and find out I'm fired. Tell me while I'm home. How about that? Yeah. I do not want to come into work. They had the old saying from Friday, you got fired on your day off, Craig. But don't have me come into work and be like, hey, you fired. Like, what?
Yeah. Well, and to be fair, well, I don't feel like I need to be fair, but a lot of my friends, even outside of the game space, have been laid off recently.
Yeah.
Like, it's just a rough time right now. Like, I had a friend who he worked in science production. Basically, he made chemicals for other people to, or compounds, I guess, for other people to use in their things. I don't know. He was laid off. I had a friend who was in, I actually don't even really know what he was doing, something medical, and he was laid off. So it's weird. It's weird because I feel like people aren't really talking about it in other spaces as much. But I just, from my own personal experience, like, there are a lot of people in my immediate circle of friends who have been laid off in the last year. I was laid off last year.
Yeah.
And it's just, I don't know. It's rough out there. You know, take care of each other.
It really is. And here's to hoping for an upturn. It's been a tough 2024 already for as far as these devs are concerned.
Oh man, yeah, and it's not getting better because Deviation Games is dead too. So this is, of course, PlayStation-backed Deviation Games. They said this. They said it is with a heavy heart that we announce the closure of Deviation Games. I want to express my deepest gratitude to our entire team. Thank you for all your hard work, dedication, and contributions to Deviation. I'm incredibly grateful for the opportunity to have worked with each and every one of you. We never heard what this game was. All we ever knew about it was that it was something probably live service related and that it was being funded by PlayStation. And then last year, PlayStation backed out of it. And immediately after that, one of the heads of the company left. And then there were like pretty big layoffs. I mean, it was 70 people, which doesn't sound like a ton compared to some of the other numbers, but for a single studio, that's a lot. And then almost 3 years to the day from announcing the formation of Deviation Games, actually on stage at Summer Game Fest, they are now officially dead.
That's insane. Now they weren't officially owned by Sony, right?
They were not. They were second party. They were working on a game sort of in association with them. But
that sucks.
Yeah, I mean, it's really weird. It's really weird of just, you know, they made what at the time probably felt like a really safe bet of like, PlayStation's on top. They're going to see this through, you know.
Yep.
PlayStation historically hasn't canceled a ton of games. And all of a sudden the last story I have here, we'll just throw it in here because it's all relevant, is the Spider-Man multiplayer game was also canceled. They have been canceling, I think we're up to like 4 or 5 canceled PlayStation games. We're looking at 4 or 5 closed PlayStation studios or PlayStation associated studios. Like, PlayStation is making a really hard pivot in a way that is causing a lot of people to fall off the boat. And it is not going great over there. And I feel like a lot of people are starting to see that. Like, I'm even watching, because I watch a lot of like really heavy PlayStation podcasts too, just because I want to know what the other side of the argument is, even when I just don't agree with it. Even over there, for the most part, people are like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah.
Like, PlayStation is not doing great right now. And I know like no one's super doing great because like Xbox had layoffs. I think Nintendo's the last person to not have layoffs, and God knows how long that lasts for. I hope that they don't. I mean, maybe they're the ones who haven't way too much like stocked up over COVID. But I mean, we're looking at PlayStation and it's like they've closed 4 studios in 4 years. They've caused the death now of Deviation. They have canceled a ton of games pretty much as soon as they were announced in some cases. We're looking at, you know, no first party games from them for at minimum until April of next year. Like,
that's
man,
pretty crazy.
It is a bad time to be PlayStation, like, especially because so many of their higher ups are leaving. It is this situation, and people have called me crazy for this, but I am very confident in this. I'm not going as far as like, you know, King David or whatever. I don't think PlayStation is going to die. PlayStation is going to really fast catch up to the idea of like, maybe we should put some of these games on Xbox. 100%. It is sooner rather than later. And I can tell you what some of those are going to be immediately. It's going to be, I think Death Stranding shows up. I think Helldivers shows up. You know, I think that it's going to be games like that are going to be coming over to,
I think,
to Xbox sooner rather than later.
I think Helldivers 2 makes perfect sense. And that's just off the top. That just makes sense. It should happen, and they should make some type of deal
behind it because it's not first party, it's second party.
True,
and they can do that for all of it, right?
They could, especially for the live service too, right? Definitely.
Yeah, because it doesn't necessarily make sense for Final Fantasy 7 because they don't own it. So if they allowed that to go to other platforms, it wouldn't make them money. It would only make Square money, which they should still do because Square needs the money. But anything that's like owned by them, so Death Stranding, Helldivers 2, Rise of the Ronin, I think those kind of second party games, which they like to say that those are first party games, but they also like to say a lot of things. We have words and they mean things, and those are second party.
Right.
It's just that's been bothering me lately. I don't know why. People are like, oh yeah, well, Death Stranding 2 is a first party game and that's supposed to come out next year. And I'm like, okay, dude.
Yeah.
Like,
but I would
that's not what that is.
But I would
Anyway.
add to that just to say, as far as deviation goes, it's crazy to have that announced and then it's like, oh, you don't even see the game. But I would say
we do not even know what the game was.
we don't even know what it was, right?
They didn't say almost anything about it.
Nothing. And so unfortunate for that team. I would also add though, beside the other 4 studios that Sony has closed, with the Spider-Man cancellation, or at least delay, I'm going to call it a delay, because that game looks, from what we've seen of the 2 trailers put out lately that was leaked, that looked largely polished. It looked like it could be ready for prime time, in my opinion. I feel like they're going to bring that back and probably use it in the next Spider-Man, maybe Spider-Man 3 or something like that. They'll fully introduce it into the world as a live service component. That's my thinking.
I could see that. I certainly hope that, because a lot of people put a lot of work into that, and it would be a shame if it didn't come
to fruition, as they would say.
Yeah. So, man, I hope so, but I just don't know, man. Like, here's the thing that confused me the most. They were trying to make this push into live service so heavy, right? Like, we saw the things from recently. It was like last year, maybe 2 years ago, that Jim Ryan put out that thing where it was like, we want 60% of our money going to live service games, which is insane.
It is insane
based on what their money was made off prior. But I'm looking at the live service games that they have decided to keep and the ones that they have decided to cancel, and I don't understand at all.
They don't make any sense.
You have canceled a Spider-Man multiplayer game that it didn't even have to be good and it would have made money.
So true.
Factions, like Last of Us multiplayer game, that kind of in the same boat. Like those two, you could have put those out. They would have found an audience, and even if they didn't launch great, you could have fixed them and gotten an audience out.
They would have printed money. They would have printed money, no question.
No doubt would have made money. No doubt. But instead, we're still looking at a situation where like Fair Games is still in the works, and I'm not like advocating for the cancellation of those games, because if those games get canceled, I don't know what happens to Haven or what happens to whatever the other studio is who's doing Fair Games and whatever the hell the other one is called. I can't even remember. They all look the same to me.
That
do you remember the other one
from PlayStation? The ones that they would have coming out. They have
Concord,
yeah, and Fair Games. Yeah.
Those 2 games that looked wildly generic, and I cannot even remember the names of the second one. Those ones are still presumably being worked on. But these other 2 that in both cases were seemingly pretty close to done and would have printed money easy would have made money. Those ones are canceled. Like, I don't understand it. Is it a situation of like, well, we don't want Insomniac and Naughty Dog to have to support these games? That's fine. Hand those games over to the live service game studios. Like, hey, we've got Factions, it's out the door, hand it over to Haven and have them take over the support of it. Oh, we're almost done with this this Spider-Man multiplayer game, hand that over to whoever the hell's making Concord, right? Like, you have teams that make live service games now. You don't necessarily have to dedicate your premier AAA studios to making these games. Honestly, if you're really thinking about it, you probably shouldn't have had them making it in the first place. You could have had Haven just making the multiplayer for Last of Us 2. Like, you could have just done that from the start, and they probably would have done a better job of it.
It's possible. I mean, they got Jade there, and like you say, they could have had them doing that, and then had representatives from Insomniac come there to make sure everything is smooth as far as the gameplay and all of that. They got the code and all that. I agree with you.
Yeah,
there's so many ways they could have gone about it.
Yeah, and like, there's an aspect of it where, I don't want to rag on them too hard, because it's like, hindsight it's really easy for me to sit here in my armchair and be like, you should have done this, you should have done that, because like, I don't see the numbers, right? I don't know what the reality of their business side is, but I'm looking at it and I cannot fathom how they're like, Spider-Man, Last of Us, those will never make money. No, Fair Games, and other one that I'm already forgetting the name of, those are the ones we're gonna go with.
Right.
And it's like, I don't understand it. I really truthfully am just like, I don't know what your plan here is.
Yeah.
I don't know how you have pivoted in such a way that you don't have any games for over a year. Like even when we were giving shit to Xbox, and I have no regrets for giving shit to Xbox for not having pretty much any games their year. Even that year where they had no games, they had something. Like they had Pentiment, they had, I think Grounded came out that year or something. Like there were things that came out in there that just like weren't moving the needle, and we still called that nothing, because that's what it felt like. In this case, it's literally nothing other than the Last of Us 2 remake. And it's like, are people gonna be okay with that? Like I know that Helldivers is there and it's doing well, but that's second party, and they're not making a ton of money off it because all that money's going to Arrowhead, because they don't be like, that's how that deal works, is they make 30% and Arrowhead gets 70. That's how this happens. And then it's going to be it's the same thing for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which is apparently not doing super great financially anyway. It's going to be the same thing for Rise of the Ronin, which the previews are coming in a little lukewarm on that one. Like PlayStation is in a rough spot. If I don't want to make a bet on this because I don't want it to happen. This is more like, I don't know, a negative portent, I guess. But if I'm like Media Molecule right now, if I'm Haven, if I'm one of these teams, one of these smaller PlayStation teams, I think I'm scared shitless right now because it's gonna get to because we're not getting any games out of PlayStation until at least this time next year, because they said we won't have anything in this entire fiscal year. I really highly doubt that the first party game that they put out is going to be like the first day of the end of that time period. So it's probably going to be a couple months after that even.
You know what? I'll add to that is that I think that this is kind of showing us that the genre, at least, of live service games are kind of dwindling down a bit. And because most of them typically fail, as we know. You got to have that one that hits lightning in a bottle. It's only a few that do it. So I feel like they just need to put their efforts into just making a solid, single or multiplayer game, more than saying, hey, let's make this live service thing. And I think that's going to have to be a transition they have too.
Yeah. Well, and even sometimes there's ones that pop off really hard at first and then disappear after a couple months.
Yeah,
so who knows how long Helldivers is going to survive, right? Like Fortnite and Apex have held on for a long time. There's a couple others that fall into that vein, but there's also ones like Multiverses or whatever that came out, and I feel like everyone was talking about it for like a month and a half, and then it was like delisted. It's gone.
Just gone.
We're waiting for it to be re-released.
It's insane how that went from it was the talk of the town to nothing.
Yeah.
What the hell happened?
But to get back to the point I was saying before, if I'm a PlayStation employee, scratch the Media Molecule thing. If I am a PlayStation employee, period, not a dev, not a QA, anybody working at PlayStation, I'm concerned right now for my job, because they just laid off 900 people. They've just closed a studio. They've closed 3 other studios in the last couple of years. They've caused the death of Deviation. And it's not going to get better anytime soon. Like, they're doing this because they're failing to meet their numbers. But if we're not putting out a product in the next year, we're going to hit the next quarter and we're going to have to tell the board again, we didn't hit those numbers. And then the next quarter, and then the next quarter. We're looking at another 3 quarters of not hitting our numbers and having to make up that number by dropping people. I think that PlayStation, I don't know. They're either going to have to stand up to their board and be like, look, guys, this is what's happening. I'm sorry. We're just going to have to tough it out. I don't know if there's a person there who has the strength to do that right now. I am much more feeling like it's going to be a situation where some of these smaller teams, I think by the end of this year, there is a strong possibility that PlayStation closes another studio. I think it is a 100% chance that there is another wave of layoffs.
I wouldn't doubt
PlayStation.
Yeah,
like PlayStation is in a rough spot right now.
And
that's really concerning.
I think I agree with you on that, and I think that a lot of the media doesn't really give them the same eye of attention when it comes to the negativity.
No, they're starting to, but yes.
Yeah, but if this was Xbox doing this, and if this was happening on the Xbox side of things, you would the doom and gloom would not stop. Exactly.
100%.
So I think it goes to the media bias that we kind of, at least, and possibly to us too, where we kind of think, well, Sony will find a way, right? It's Sony. But no, it's looking more dire than I think people are willing to give it the credit for. I wanted to point out something Pyro said. It's something I actually commented on Booms, and I believe even last week when I had my brother Jedi Knight Peter on, is that he says Disney pulls. He got his fingers crossed. He said, fingers crossed, Disney pulls an MLB and forces Spider-Man to go multi-plat, even if Xbox allows Sunset Overdrive 1 to get ported to PS5 as a what is this, a tit for tat thing. I don't think it's going to have to be a tit for tat. I have speculated that I believe Disney, especially what we just found out with their new
Disney's also hurting financially.
Exactly. So they got two things: their increase into being into gaming that they're focused on, and Disney notoriously wanting all of the money they can get out of a product. And I would say it's possibly going to say is greed, sure, whatever. Milking that franchise for all it's worth. And then 3, we already have the situation with MLB saying this is not enough, and having the game MLB put on Xbox, which was smart because clearly we play it more than they do now.
That's true.
Which is weird.
I think the last number we saw, and it was player based, not sales based technically, but it was like 6-1 players on Xbox.
6-1.
I don't play MLB The Show, so I don't know if they have like microtransactions in there. I feel like there's a pretty good chance that they do.
I didn't see any. The last one I played, I didn't see any, but they might have it. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't. I know that in like not MLB, in 2K, you can like buy new shoes and shit for your guy.
Yeah.
So I just assume that that's in all sports games until proven otherwise.
2K makes a ton off of microtransactions for a fact. But I was going to say, so I think Disney might force Sony's hand there in having Spider-Man go multi-plat to at least to Xbox as well. I think Steam, and if not to Xbox, definitely day and date to PC. I would imagine that has to happen at some point. I would
PC day
imagine.
and date is happening like within 6 months. I feel very confident of that. I think when the next time they put out a first party game, I would be very surprised if it doesn't launch on PC also at this point.
Yeah.
Because they need the money. They need the money real bad, and especially if the next game that launches is going to be a live service game. Yeah. Like, there's no excuse. You need to find that player base. You need to get as many people in there buying whatever transactions or whatever you got.
Absolutely. And don't let it be live service and it doesn't land.
Yeah. Well, because
buys it at studio.
This thing where, and I don't even say this as a fanboy. Like, I do prefer my Xbox, generally speaking, but like, I don't know. I don't think I'm a fanboy. I think it's really ludicrous to me seeing lately people being like using any of this as a fanboy like console war thing, because it's like, oh, how could this happen to PlayStation? And then like, look at the numbers, dude. Like, Xbox's bar is raising. It's not raising as much as they wanted it to, but it's up. It's going up constantly. Like like their users, everything is up. PlayStation is mostly staying even, and in some cases dropping. So it's like people are like, oh my god, I can't believe this is happening to PlayStation. They were so strong for so long. And I'm like, yeah, but it is happening. And this isn't the first. Like, we have been seeing PlayStation's like stock price and their unit sales and all this shit dropping for like over a year now. Like, the writing was on the wall about this for a long time. So I don't understand. Like, I put out a video like over a year ago that I was like, Sony is killing PlayStation because their business model is really screwing up PlayStation's entire thing. And, you know, not to toot my horn, but like, pretty much all the things I said in that video have come true in a really awful way. It's just like, I don't know. It's so weird to me to be like, to still see people being like, oh, well, PlayStation laid off 900 people and Xbox laid off 1,900 people. And it's like, yeah, I mean, it's the same percentage of their workforce, which is how they usually look at it.
Right.
But also it's like, there's no console war of like, your guys laid off more guys than my guys. They ruined more lives than us.
You
like,
would think
what?
it wouldn't. You would think it wouldn't be, but you
Like,
got our Hoove brothers out there who will
about?
absolutely make that into a console war. I've seen it. But yeah, you would think that wouldn't be the case. So listen, I don't know if you had any other major ones we have to share, Danny, but we are.
No, I'm good. That was the last one.
Okay, so I think that was a good discussion actually, and I did not have any thought for us to go 2 hours. So, and it seems like every time I say it, it seems like we go past, don't it, Danny? Like, oh, it's not gonna be a long show. 3 hours later. I want to read Bold Alpha Wolfpack's two generous donations. Thank you, Bold Alpha Wolfpack. Thanks for coming through too, brother. He says, I seen the 15-minute pitch Insomniac did for the Great Web, and I don't think it was feasible that they need 2 alternative teams to make season and content from the fall to the spring, and it was going to be huge. PS's biggest title yet. What's your thoughts on that, Danny?
I really don't know anything about the 2 teams thing, so I can't really comment on that too much. I think if they were saying it was going to take 2 different teams to make 2 different seasons of content, then they were thinking way too big. I think if you just put out a multiplayer Spider-Man game and you just update it with like new skins, new characters, new bosses to fight, like you could do that. You could add a new boss or a new like story mission or whatever, like once a month or every other month even, and that game would print money. People would be buying all the different color variants of their suits. You put in the Sam Raimi suits, you put in the Amazing Spider-Man suits. People are buying that every time. I promise you. Like,
I know I would be one of them. I am a cosmetics thought when it comes to that type of stuff.
Yeah, if what Bold Alpha Wolfpack is saying about it being like, of them saying like, we need 2 different teams and we're gonna do all this thing, like that they way overshot the bag on that one, and that was a dumbass idea, because like you don't need to put that much into a Spider-Man game for it to make money. Absolutely not. But if the solution to seeing that pitch was like, all right, well then just can the whole project, instead of just like, what if we roll it back a little bit and just put out this game that will make millions of dollars without even trying. Yeah, like I don't know.
No, I'm much in the same thinking of that, and like to Bold Alpha Wolfpack to thank you for that. And he also says $2 donation. He says Venom is delayed to 2027, 2028. Part of the issue I have with their approach was it feels to me like they cut content from Venom that we saw in Spider-Man 2 to actually push him into his own game. And I get it that Sony wants to milk the franchise. I get it. It makes sense to, spin off into more properties to get more money out of it. It just felt like, to me, it hurt Spider-Man 2 in a way, because it just felt like, oh, you get this one mission, Venom, that's it.
Yeah.
But you're going to get 5 Mary Jane missions, though.
I know that nobody wants to hear it, because I want more superhero games. But if PlayStation wants to make more money off the games that Insomniac is making, they should probably drop making superhero games altogether and have them make some new IP, or get back to like making more Ratchet games that are, things that they can put together real fast and get out there and just make. I mean, those Ratchet games always made their money back, even if they weren't like Game of the Year contenders or whatever. Insomniac is an incredibly talented team.
Absolutely.
And I want the superhero games. I want X-Men. I want Wolverine.
Same.
I think we all do.
Yep.
But if it's a situation of like, well, they can make the Wolverine game and we can make $10, or they can make the Ratchet and Clank game and we can make $10 million, and that is directly related to saving several thousand jobs or whatever, then like, yeah, dude, cut X-Men. Like, I'm fine. I'm at this point, just do it, dude.
Yeah, I can agree with that. As far as that pitch though, Bold Alpha Wolfpack, I don't know, man. I don't know if they needed alternative teams for that. Again, I don't think from what we've seen of it, gameplay wise, it looks like it was largely done to me. Now, we didn't see all the tangibles of it, to be fair, the intangibles, I guess I should say, but it feels like to me, like this is more of one of those that's delayed. Like, because remember, they had 12 that live service, and this was one of them clearly. So this is one of those I think is just delayed. We had the same thought for Horizon's multiplayer, but they're still working on that, according to Jason Schreier. So that's going to come out still. I see no reason why this wouldn't, because like Danny pointed out, it's going to make money hand over fist if they do it right.
Yeah.
So
honestly, if they can retool it and put it out in like a smaller capacity, I think you do that. Even if it's just like an additional mode, like you said, if they can just like staple this onto that Venom game or whatever the hell comes out, and just throw microtransactions into it, they'll make that money back. I promise you, they'll make that money back.
Absolutely. I just wonder what will unfold when EA says, not EA, excuse me, Disney says, hey, we want more of a upfront balance. We want to change the percentages, to 33 like they did to EA. I just wonder what's going to happen then, and if those talks are already happening, because we saw from the leaked, hacked stuff and that was leaked out, of what they have to sell Sony and Insomniac have to sell for Spider-Man now.
It's insane.
Yeah.
It's a huge number. I think if that number changes upwards at all, I think the immediate next answer, like the next words out their mouth are like, you should probably publish it on Xbox.
Yeah.
So you should probably put that shit on PC and Xbox.
Yeah. I'm with you on that. I think that's going to be the pull. I think that's going to be the push and the pull right there.
Yeah,
100%.
well, and they can use the same excuse that they used for MLB. They can be like, "Oh, Disney forced our hands," because like even if they don't specifically say we want it on Xbox, if they're saying you have to hit these numbers, then they're kind of saying you got to put it on other platforms.
Pretty much, because what are you going to do? You can't squeeze blood from a turnip, as they would say, right? You're going to have to do something. Has to give. So yeah. But folks, that concludes our discussion for the night. I want to thank all of you guys for being here with us. And thank you guys for the donations. Thank you, Mods, Gray, Yodani, Shooter. Thank you guys for being here. All our friends and family, much love to you guys. Thank you. And we're going to get out of here. Danny, where can the good folks find you and what will you be up to?
You can find me on Twitter at Daniel J. McG or at my personal YouTube channel, Daniel McG. I don't really know what my next video is going to be. I've been doubling down on writing some of my DC rewrite stuff, but I don't know when that's going to be done. So
okay.
We'll see.
All right,
Catch me here next week.
What was the last video you did? Maybe you could plug that for the folks.
Sure. I don't even remember. I think it was like 2 weeks ago, and I've blacked out since then. Let me see. I was talking about the last thing I talked about was Xbox putting stuff on multiple platforms, and I was talking about the best case scenario and the worst case scenario before we knew what it was.
Okay. Well, that I guess in general, I guess that just shows you guys go to check out Danny's channel in general. He has a lot of great videos on there.
Actually, you know what? Before that, the video I put up was talking about how good wrestling is right now. That's relevant. That's always relevant right now.
There you go.
So,
yeah.
Go watch that. It's an hour and a half of me and one of my best friends just talking about how wrestling is good as hell right now.
There you go. Perfect. And these from two guys who actually actively watch it versus myself, who can give you a little thoughts here and there, but I don't watch it as much as they do or have seen much. So if you got any wrestling fans here and who enjoyed our first conversation earlier in the show, definitely go by and check that out. I'm pretty sure you're going to get a lot of great information and thoughts from that. And as far as myself, and Danny, where can the folks find you and everything like that?
Just on Twitter at Daniel J. McG or my personal YouTube channel, Daniel McG. That's all.
All right. As far as myself, folks, you can find myself on Twitter, X Infinite Umbra or Umbra Infinite. You'll find me either way. We have no show tomorrow for the Infinite podcast. As my brother Riskit, he has to attend surgery with his son. So shout out to Riskit and his son, and a little procedure that has to be done, and hopefully all things go well with that. And so next week, come by for that, and come by again next week for us on the Fix. 7 o'clock Central Time, but it's 8 o'clock Eastern. Time has moved forward for us, but it's still the same for all of you guys. So it's still roughly the same. It's nothing has changed for us really for this. So 8 o'clock Eastern, come by. You check us out here on the Fix. And of course on Tuesdays, Boom's podcast, The Xbox Factor. You'll find myself, Steel Rain, and Boom, and sometimes a rotating guest or two. That's at 12 o'clock Eastern. So come by and check us out there. I know some of you guys in the chat are there anyway. So see you there on Tuesday. Much love to the family. You guys have a good weekend, and we will talk with you later. Later, guys.